Welcome to the Violent Cell. Thank you for your time. Hello, Froggy. This is a two-part live, and basically commenters' choice. Is faith the reason Sebastian Rogers is gone? Number 2, does LE now have more answers than 4 months ago? That question is coming from Tony Mathis from the latest interview with Banfield of he and Seth Rogers. Two-part live, taking a deep dive into why this child is missing. Many people feel like the Proudfoots are behind the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers. So today we take a dive into, is it because of faith? Is it because of this child getting custody of her and or visitation? This child, Sebastian, poof, voila, is gone. And where does Ellie stand as far as the investigation? Number 1, is it criminal? Number 2, if it's criminal, do they have suspects? Where is it going? Will it ever get turned over to another agency such as TBI, FBI, or the district attorney turns it over to TBI, FBI? Let's go back to the last interview with Banfield. Thank you for your time.
I'm joined now by Sebastian's father, Seth Rogers, and his spokesperson, Tony Mathis. Thank you to the both of you. And Seth, I'm really so sorry that, here we are having this conversation with News Nation again about your son, Sebastian, and it's been all these months. Do you have any updates? Have you heard anything, any leads, anything at all from the police?
No, ma'am. I haven't. Every lead that I do come across, I have my private investigators searching into it.
And have they come up with anything? Have they been helpful?
Well, we've had pictures of stuff come in. My private investigators track it down. And then we find out that it's just another rabbit hole. Sumner County, I give them all the tips that I get. Just not really.
And so when you give them the tips that you come up with your private investigators, are they thankful? Do they indicate to you that this is helpful? Do you have a good relationship with the police? Do you feel like they're on your side, that they're working hard?
That's what they're conveying to me. But
I can't imagine how hard this must be.
I'm not seeing my son's right here. This is my first Father's Day. What made me a father is not here.
I'm so sorry. I'm just so sorry. If there's anything we can do, we'll keep the story in the news. What's so bizarre is that Katie and Chris packed up and left that home. Are you in contact with them at all? I know originally they weren't talking to you at all. They weren't sharing information, which also seems bizarre to me. Even if a split up is acrimonious, you still have this shared goal, right? To find your boy. Has it gotten any better between you and Katie in terms of sharing info?
It doesn't feel like a shared goal. It sure doesn't feel like a shared goal.
Wow.
It feels like it's only my goal. Sebastian's army, it's their goal. It's my goal to find Sebastian. But as for contact between me and the Proudfoots, there has been no contact.
Still nothing.
It's like I'm the only one that misses my son.
Let me ask you, Tony, if you can jump in here. I know that you and Seth asked for the FBI to engage, take over, become a part of the case. Where has that gone, if anywhere?
Well, as you well know, Ashley, it's only going to go somewhere if the Sumner County asks for them to take the case over. And kind of where we're at, where I've been all along, is I just want them to answer one simple question for Seth, and I feel like that he deserves an answer to this question. Are they closer today than they were February 26th? And if the answer to that is no, or we can't get an answer, then I think it's only logical that the case be elevated.
Yeah, it seems, I mean, what are we? I think 114 days. I understand that investigators can't always share everything, but do you feel, Tony, that at least they have been, I don't know, optimistic or helpful or hopeful, or at least been keeping Seth up to speed on what they're doing?
I think that we feel like that the communication could always be better, and let's put you or I as a parent in Seth's shoes. If they can't give you an answer to the question, are you any further along today than you were 114 days ago? I mean, as a parent, are you not terrified to hear that?
I can't imagine that, Seth, if Sebastian can hear you, if he's out there, what's your message for him?
Same as it's always been. I need you to get away from whoever you're dear. Get to a phone. My phone is still on, son. The same phone number. Everything. I need you to call me. I need you to call 911. I need you to tell who you are. If you need to tell them that you were wanted.
Wow.
I need to know you're safe. I need you, buddy. You've always been my buddy.
Stay strong. Stay strong, Seth. We got your back here. We're going to keep the story on the air. Somebody knows something, and there's going to be a lead that turns up. In the meantime, we do want people to know, Seth Rogers and Tony Mathis, thank you for this. We do want people to know that if you have any information on the whereabouts of Sebastian Rogers, please call the Sumner County Sheriff at 615-451-3838. Again, take a picture of your screen. I always say it's 615-451-3838. Thank you.
That's Banfield, everybody. News Nation with Seth Rogers and Tony Mathis. First Father's Day without his son. Basically saying Sebastian is the reason he's a father. Has not seen his son, heard from his son. Wants his son to call if he can. Get to a phone. He has the same phone number. He's crying in this interview. This is a side of Seth that many of us hadn't seen in a while since the beginning of the story. It's a terrible place to be, and I don't wish this on anyone, to have their child missing, and this person has nothing to do with the child missing naturally. So where is the investigation? As Tony asked, where are you now, Sumner County Sheriff's Department, in this investigation of this missing boy? Do you have more information now than you had 4 months ago? It is hard to even believe we are approaching 4 months. I was just sitting here thinking this the other day to myself, because this is how you know time waits on no one. It's just like anything. Whatever you're going through in life, start looking back at the dates and you're thinking to yourself, wow, I thought that was just yesterday, 2 weeks ago. And you look up, whatever you were going through, it surpassed a day, it surpassed a week, it surpassed 2 months, 3 months. And as in this case, it's no different. A child is missing, and what started out as a story, whenever you came upon the story, it's now, the time has elapsed. And it's scary as hell. It's scary when you know that a person was walking around, breathing, talking, laughing, eating, sleeping, doing whatever it is that he or she was doing in their life, and then poof, voila, they are no longer. There's no sound, there's no movement. See, when you have death, no matter how the person died, you know that they are gone, okay? It's final. You have knowledge. But to me, this is worse. And you always hear detectives say this, At least we now know where the person is. Of course. But in this case, we don't know where he is. And it's gut-wrenching just as an outsider listening in. Knowing that this child existed, witnesses to say he existed, parents, teachers, whomever, but yet, poof, voila, he's gone. In the thick of the night, allegedly, he's gone, if you are to believe that version. Where is this child? Who holds the key to where the child can be found, located? It's interesting when I look at my comments on my videos and posts, how people like to go back and forth arguing. Well, I've always said to people, the queen doesn't need to explain herself. I don't owe you an explanation for how I think. I've said it before, and I don't have to keep saying it. But obviously, I need to. If the Proudfoots didn't do anything to their child, I still don't care for them. If they did nothing to the child, felonious, to cause him to be not breathing, I don't care for them. I never will care for them, because I'm judging them according to their own words spoken after the child went missing, because that's all I have. So I don't need to explain how I think and what I think. As I told someone in the comment section, don't argue with a fool. You don't argue with a fool. You're entitled to think whatever you want of either parent. That is your business. I judge accordingly to what I see and what I hear. And even if the child is alive somewhere, stuck in somebody's house, locked in a room, a basement, an attic, met foul play, walking out, which we know that didn't happen, because the police tell us they don't believe he left the house, so therefore we don't have to keep talking about that. That still has nothing to do with how the Proudfoots have talked about their child. So what is there to argue over? But that's what is so amazing about people. They refuse to accept what they're hearing from the people who were rearing the child, which is so baffling to me. How you can't grasp that something was amiss with this child in his child rearing. Well, what are you confused about? And it's sad you have to keep repeating this over and over and over. Faith, was she the replacement? So this child get out of the way, removed permanently, so Faith could come stay in this house, visit this house. And number two, some of you believe also that Christopher couldn't live in the house. That's why he possibly had this job out of town. He wanted to come back to his house. And some of you have come back to tell me he has made commentary on networks pertaining to not being able to stay in his own house. So one would say that wasn't going to last. I think most of you know this. Nobody's going to pay a mortgage and can't stay in their own house. Yes, I'm assuming it was very lonely. This is why I said what I said in the live before. Is that some of you need to role play, obviously. Because because you're talking about these parents and what they're going through and what they're saying. But have you thought about the role of the boy child and what he was experiencing living in the Proudfoot's house, and also dealing with his father, Seth? Can't leave the father out either. What were his emotions, his thought process? This girl child, what is she seeing? What is she hearing? Imagine what she's probably heard for some time from her mother, Nina, other people from her jurisdiction, and then coming down here to Tennessee, still telling what she's hearing from the Proudfoots, his relatives, Mr. Proudfoot's mother, father, whomever. See, and we learned this with that case out in Kansas, Oklahoma, that a teenager heard of a plot to unalive a mother. So God knows what this child has heard, and she may fear for her own safety, as someone commented a little while ago on my network. What if she feels like she will go missing next? Exactly. Nobody cares about that. Everything's about Katie, Chris, and Seth. But nobody's thinking about what Sebastian was feeling and going through, any concerns he had. Did he voice any concerns? You never hear anybody talking about this. I never hear anybody talking about this. What was the state of the mind of the boy child? What was said to him behind closed doors by these parents? How did they make him feel? What did he tell other people about his life at this house? What goals did he have? Dreams? Nobody ever talks about that because that's too mushy. But everybody's so upset that he's missing. Are you? Are you really bothered that he's missing? Because all the conversations are just the same. Now flip the coin with Faith. Same thing. How is she feeling? What's on her mind? What are her conversations like with her mother? She can't talk in private, can she? Does she have her own private phone? Is she able to call her mother privately to tell her how she's doing, how she's feeling here in Tennessee, what her visit is like? Is she ready to go back? Is she enjoying herself? Is Katie treating her well? What has her time been like with the father, Mr. Christopher Proudfoot? See, nobody asks all the pertinent questions. Just dancing around, talking about other stuff. Let's go to the Queen's Community page and hear your thoughts pertaining to the polls and posts. Lord have mercy. Commenter's choice. Does Faith think she will go missing like her brother Sebastian? 33 votes. 15% says yes. 45% no. 39% not sure. Ten hours ago. Commenter's choice. Once again. Did Proudfoot's unalive Sebastian as not to have him in home when Faith visits and or in hopes of gaining full custody of her? Yes, both. 62%. No, 21%. Not sure, 18%. 151 votes. Your comments. Lisa B says, good evening. Yep, that is what I think. 100 in the interview with Olivia, you could tell Chris's eyes and his head were moving every time Katie said something, almost like a nod! Exclamation point. Yes, you're saying the right thing, or no, you're not. Just like the tapping with her hand, it almost looks like Katie's way of remembering the steps in the order that she was told to remember. Very interesting. Kim Howard says, yes, because if Sebastian was still in the house, Chris couldn't be there. Jay Lotus says, why not? Got the memo replies, I don't understand this comment. Why wouldn't Chris be allowed in his own house? Jay Lotus says, to got the memo. I'm wondering if Child Protective Services got a court order to keep Chris away from the house. Got the memo replies back to Jade. I believe that he has his daughter right now and they are all at the house. Males replied, my theory is he decided to fight back from his abuse. And he went after Katie and she or they unalived him. She skips over details and acts traumatized by the event, and Chris couches her what to say. Coach, excuse me. The part where she asks Chris if he's okay, and Chris assures her, it says to me something happened that she feels guilt for. Interesting. The part where she asks Chris if he's okay, and Chris assures her. Don't remember that. Interesting. Esoteric Wolf says, hey, Queen. Oh, somebody asked something about wanted to send links. Okay. Well, now, very interesting. Once again, I asked you, did the Prophets unalive Sebastian as not to have him in the house when Faith visits and or to get custody of her? 62% of you said yes to both. 21% no and 18% not sure. During the Banfield interview with Seth Rogers, Tony Mathis posed the question if Ellie is closer to having answers now than they were 4 months ago pertaining to Sebastian's case. If so, let Seth know. If not, hand the case over to the FBI. Well, weigh in. Yes, law enforcement has answers, 30%. No, they do not, 41%. Not sure, 29%, 105 votes. Salute Soleil says the FBI will only become involved if local authorities request it or there is an interstate commerce nexus. They do not take over local cases. And of course, the Queen replies, I know this already. Everlasting Enchantment says, I hear TBI is out at Warrior Path. And that's pertaining to Summer Wells nonsense. Please take the polls pertaining to my other subject matters, Justin Bieber and domestic abusers not having access to guns if they have a restraining order. Commenter's choice. Sebastian never went missing while Seth Rogers or when he went to work, but allegedly disappears after a day out with Katie. Ima says, home is where the snacks are, Katie. You know how 15-year-old boys love their snacks. He didn't even grab those snacks you just bought that day. Really? No shoes, no snacks, no phone? I don't know why he walked out that front door. Sure. Amazing Tiff says, Madeline Soto also had the best day ever right before she disappeared, if I remember correctly. So did Summer Wells, just saying. The Queen replies, yes, imagine that. I've been wondering why Madeline was unalived by Mom's boyfriend. Did he try to touch her or forced himself onto her and she rebuffed him or told him she'd tell her mom someone else? Amazing Tiff replies, at the risk of channeling my own inner Beverly, I'm not sure if the death was only caused by him. Let me sit down now and mind my business. Wow. User replies, agree the timeline is all off and only what Katie has said. Don't buy any of it. Wow. Wow. Just going through my polls. Feel free to take them at your convenience. 4-month mark approaching and no new info on Sebastian Rogers. 4 replies. Poor little Sebastian by Angela Luster. My heart breaks for him. He had a hard life. I hope he's in heaven with billions of friends now and all the cats he wants. He deserved better when he was on this earth, in my opinion. Quinny replies, I thought this would be a case where he would have been found after 2 days tops. I saw it as a simple runaway. It breaks my heart. I was wrong. Mary Frances replies, it's turning out like Summer Wells. Solo Nons replies, not surprising to me. but I'm still waiting on Ellie. Interesting. Seth Rogers feels there's no joint effort to find Sebastian. Is it time for him to accept that the Proudfoots never cared for the child, and the reason they refuse to help and speak to him is because they know where Seth is? 83% says yes. 17% says no. 115 votes. Obviously, the Proudfoots and the judge could give two Fs about the feelings of girl Faith. 7 responses. I try to stay off these pages and keep my mouth shut, says Tennessee nurse, for many reasons, but the photo of KP and Faith has pissed me the hell off. Their plan worked perfectly. KP and CP are exactly where they wanted to be at this date and time and doing exactly what they wanted. This was all 100% about them getting Faith. We need to be knocking the doors down at CPS in both New Mexico and Tennessee. Seth and Nina are in shambles. CP and KP's world is perfect and complete. How the hell can these people have any type of access to a child? Not only do they have a track record, but a child went missing under their care. Evil is winning, and this is insane. Solo Nons replies, I've been busy, but I did hear in your live CP has her. I was like, what the F? Okay. I replied, what were you saying? I misunderstood what the person's question. Matter of fact, let me delete that. Angela Luster replies, agree. I'm so scared for her and her mom. I hope CP and KP never lay a finger on her. They know the world is watching, so hopefully she will be okay. I'm scared KP could have some animosity towards her since she's here and Seb is gone, just my opinion. I reply, they won't harm Nina, but KP could resent Faith or welcome her as a replacement. Who knows? Angela replies, I feel sorry for Nina is what I meant to say. I can't imagine the fear of giving her child to him. And then I'm going to reply back, I can't either. And it would be foolish to harm Faith at this juncture. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for your time. Let's see. Janice replies, you are 100% right. Those are the latest posts to my community page. SG says, KP was the last person to see Sebastian, primary suspect. Okay. If he really disappeared from the house as reported, he probably would have been found. Yes, some people feel that way. These people do not think like us. Whatever is normal for you is foreign to them. Understanding that is how you can better understand their warped minds. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. KP is going to be on her best behavior. Otherwise, CP might get rid of her. Oh, interesting. These folks are true bottom feeders. Joe says, good morning, Queen and chat. If I was KP, I couldn't handle having another child in my home after Sebastian going. It would be too upsetting. Well, Joe, it would only be upsetting if she doesn't have anything to do with the child. So what are you saying? You believe she doesn't have anything to do with the disappearance of her child? Is that what you're saying? Because she doesn't seem concerned about her child missing. The way she and her husband have paraded around on YouTube and talking around the child about milkshakes and drinks and soda pop, they don't seem too concerned to me. I agree, Proudfoots and the Wells. I don't like them. Failed at parenting. Hello, beautiful sunflower. Once again, as I have said before, I don't care to argue with people about what somebody did or didn't do, because in the end, neither one of us were there. But I only judge people according to how they come to the table. That's all you have. It doesn't matter if it's the Proudfoots, if it's Seth, if it's the guy at Piggly Wiggly or the girl behind the counter at Starbucks. It's all the same. You don't have anything but what is presented to you. And if you see a repetition of behavior time after time after time, then you will assess that situation according to the representation of the person. And so far, the representation by the Proudfoots is not good, in my opinion. And I think a lot of people want to keep putting that on the back burner. Well, you don't have any proof. You don't have any proof that they did anything, as I've said before, and I'm tired of saying it. If they didn't do anything, I still don't like their fucking behavior. What are you confused about? You can't keep ignoring how they behave. You don't want people talking about you. You don't want people gossiping about you. You don't want people speculating and assuming you did something to the boy. Then act like you give a fuck. What's so hard about that? Stop dancing around what's obvious. You act like you don't care. So why should I think you didn't do something to the child? Well, what is the mystery? I don't get it. And as I said before, if they didn't do anything to the child, I still don't care for them. Point blank. I'm not going to change my mind. Not now, not never. So whether they hurt the boy or not, I'm judging them according to how they behave up here on YouTube. They should have never came to YouTube. They should have never done a YouTube interview, sit down with no one. You have been parading around up here like two dancing ass clowns who show no empathy and remorse for what you have put out about the boy. And what you have put out is negative and horrendous. And it's shit that most people would never tell complete strangers. But you've been gloating about it. And that shows me you mistreated the boy when he was visible. And that's my personal opinion. That's my personal opinion. And she says all three of them failed at parenting. Leaving a 15-year-old autistic child alone at night for 12 hours is irresponsible. Well, is it, SG? Some people might disagree. Depending on his aptitude that he could keep a door locked, not open a door, not turn on a stove. See, we don't really know what he could and could not do. Maybe he felt like 15 years old, he could stay alone. I don't know. Obviously, he didn't, because he did it. I have no idea how I'd behave if my child went missing, but I'd find their behavior and words very odd. If you fail to be human and fail their fellow man, why are you even on this planet? Well, people fail people every day. I think you know this. From what you see, just from people you deal with, the news, our own shortcomings, we are all judged. It's just the way it is. We're human. You're the flesh. You're going to judge. Even the worst man, woman, has judged somebody else's sin. Because you're the flesh. That's what we do. We judge. Some of us anyway. Law enforcement, Sumner County Sheriff's Department. Where are you in this investigation? What do you have at this moment pertaining to this child? What do you have sitting before you? Evidentiary material. Data gathered by all parties, including the child. What do you have? Do you have anything suspicious in nature? Do you have any other parties in this storyline that made contacts with the child? Is this a criminal investigation? Do you believe any of the parents are involved in the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers? Because you've already told us you don't believe the child walked out. So as I've told people, you have to read between the lines. If they told you they have no CCTV footage and the child didn't walk out, they're telling you. And yet people still want to keep arguing over accusations. It's baffling to me. It's like, you can't understand what the fuck they just said. What do you think they said when they mean that? That's how you question a fool. Pose the question to them and say, what do you think the police meant when they said we don't have CCTV footage of the child outside? We don't have CCTV footage of the child and the child didn't go outside. Just tell the person, what do you think that meant? and wait for a response. Because basically they're telling you it's foul. It's foul play. You got to count how many doors a person has, how many windows they have. So if you don't have the person going outside or entering, what do you have? A window and another door. Naturally, other neighbors have CCTV footage on their house, I would assume, possibly around their house. These are nice homes. I refuse to believe nobody has security cameras even on the side and the back, because that's the whole point. You have windows, you have other doors. You can't just assume a burglar is going to just break in through your front door. You can't be that ignorant and oblivious. A thief comes in the way they feel like coming in. So I'm going to have security cameras. I'm going to have them all around my house. Motion sensors on windows and doors. Ding, ding, ding. I was looking in the queue earlier. I didn't open the person's video, but the title was alluding to the fact, oh, your house is lit up now, but it wasn't lit up February 25th. Very interesting. Well, it's lit up now because he's gone. I can turn my lights on now. Checkmate. I can turn all security cameras on, motion lights, flood lights, so on and so forth. Everything's great now. My burden is gone now. Oh, and I also have another child here by the name of Faith. What is going on with this little girl? How is she coping? How is she getting along with these two? How does she feel? Does she feel safe with the Proudfoots? Is she enjoying her time? What is the conversation like towards her? Is she being treated well, exceptionally well? And as some of you are saying, they're going to walk the tightrope with her because they know all eyes are on them. And we definitely don't want any more missing kids. Sweet Jesus, how would that look? Oh, another child goes missing on their watch. Was she the reason for the season, Faith? Was she the reason this boy child is no longer around? Got to get my girl in here. Got to get her to this house. Also, could it be with those nasty comments made about the boy child being an alleged pedophile from the mouth of Mr. Proudfoot? He was worrying about Faith's safety with the child. Now, there has been no proof that this boy child is a sadist, but we'll role play for just a second. Could it be, as we have said before, a combination of things? Naturally, I'm not going to run down every motive, but we'll throw that one out there. I don't want him doing anything to this girl child. I also want to be in my house if I'm not in my house because of this child, because of accusations of child abuse. And also, I want to be able to enjoy my daughter Faith uninterrupted. Katie, did you sacrifice your child for Faith to be in that home and or to gain custody of her? Many would say this is a cold act from a mother. That you would sacrifice a lamb for a child that's not your own, and also to sacrifice the lamb for a man. But we have seen it so many times in child abuse cases. The mother allows a person to come in her home and abuse her child. We saw that with Nina. So we know it's possible that he is an abuser, Christopher Proudfoot. And what do I always say? It's what you allow. So one woman allowed it. Why wouldn't Katie? You don't find that strange? Two women don't know each other, know anything about each other, would hook up with this Teletubby and allow him to abuse their damn kids. Stay woke. Because old habits die hard. And this shows me that Christopher is not in the mentoring child rearing business. He doesn't like children. He doesn't want to be a parent. That was obvious from what Nina said when she went to the hospital and gave birth. She had to call him to tell him she was there. He knew the woman was having a baby. Come on. Because he didn't want a kid. That's why I found it interesting that she would even stay in a relationship with a man who, one, mistreated her children. That's first and foremost, when there was no faith. And then you hook up, you continue to be with this man, marry him, whatever, and then have a baby. He didn't even want to go to the hospital. And now he fighting tooth and nail as if he cares so much for faith. It's not about faith, it's about winning. He doesn't give two shits about this little girl. And what's going to be sad is the obvious. She can tell she's just a prize in the Cracker Jack box. Digging to get that plastic diamond ring at the bottom of the box. Is that what we have here, Mr. Proudfoot? I think so. Digging in the Cracker Jack box, but you know damn well you really could care less about the prize at the bottom of the box. Just something to do. Some of you have asked that question. Well, why go through all this trouble, Queen? Because he can. What do I always tell you all? Don't ask why. Ask why not. Basically, that's all true crime is. Why not? Why not do it? And as someone said under my video post, or poll rather, you got to think like that person in order to understand their mindset exactly. Because you're trying to figure them out, but you will never be able to figure them out. You may never have empathy for what they are going through. And as I have said before in my commentary, you have every right not to want to be a parent. That is your right. But you need to rectify that situation if you have a child. Because you can't keep walking around carrying this burden around of not wanting to be a mother or a father, and you have a child in your possession. It makes no sense. You need to do the right thing and pass the baton on to somebody else. And that's what is so baffling about this dynamic between all three parents. You can tell there has been mischief, mayhem, resentment, hatred from a long time ago. Maybe even in the beginning of these courtships between all three parents, even including Nina, that would be 4. Resentment. And see, resentment leads to other things. I could. I don't need your permission. Why are you asking me why I hurt this person, murdered this person, tortured this person, kidnapped this person? Because I could. See, you all need a reason, some of you. Really, it's kind of foolish to ask why. Why he do that? Why she do that? Why not? You have to climb into the mind of a sadist. Some of you can't do it. I advise you don't. Because that's the worst place you want to get, is inside of the head of a sadist. I remember a man who went to visit John Wayne Gacy many moons ago when John Wayne had first got arrested for murdering these young men outside of Chicago and in Chicago. I remember something he said and the look on his face when he said it about John. He said, John likes to probe you. He wants to get inside of your head. It's not a place you want John Wayne Gacy to be. Exactly. Those were some poignant words. And I could tell that even when he was speaking those words, he was scared. Because perhaps he had some fascination with this thing, another little Teletubby, and he wanted to learn about John Wayne Gacy and why he was out here killing men, killing boys. because he was a sadist. He was a gay man who had an appetite for torture and murder, and eventually dumped bodies underneath his house and outside of his house. But the point is, John was a flip-flopper. One minute he acted like he killed him, next minute he acted like he didn't. Severe psychosis. And I'm no doctor, but something was very wrong with John Wayne Gacy. But that man said he wants to get in your head. He will do what he needs to do to get into your head. And I think that's what's going on here with the Proudfoots, especially Mr. Christopher. He likes to get into people's heads and play mind games. And that's what you will see with sociopaths and psychopaths. They will play mind games to get in your head. And if you are willing participant, you're probably going to win a very foolish prize. And I think we could ask Katie Proudfoot about that. Can we not, Katie? Katie Proudfoot, have you won a foolish prize by allowing Christopher Proudfoot to get in your head? And as some people have said, I won't doubt they are the same. One and the same. That she's just as diabolical as Christopher Proudfoot. Both are numb. See, don't ever let that mild-mannered, coy behavior fool you. Because my mother used to tell me that growing up. It's the quiet ones that make the most noise. She used to say that about men. It's the quiet ones. They make the most noise. And we've seen this with true crime, have we not? The quiet, mild-mannered, meek, female, male, no criminal background, not known to be a troublemaker, not one to stir the pot. They always seem somehow become involved in a salacious crime. Why is that? Always accused of murder, sadism, rape, torture, popped off, appeared to be a genuinely nice person, and then one day walk into work and shoot everybody in sight. Walk into an open space and get behind the wheel of the car and mow everybody down. Stay woke. Because that's the point. There's always a pop off, jump off. It's a matter of who is recognizing the signs before the jump off. So if we are to go into the belly of the beast pertaining to the disappearance of Sebastian Rogers, there were signs all along that something wasn't right with these people rearing this boy, but nobody paid attention or nobody cared. And that's a problem. Okay? And some of you also blame Seth, that he was oblivious to what was going on with his son, because he's left things open-ended as well by saying, well, he told me he didn't want to go home. And as I've asked this question before, the who, the where, the why, the what. Well, did you ask the child why? You're not talking now. You weren't talking early on. So how could you go from talking every day, talking a lot about the boy, talking, but then the child goes missing, ain't nobody talking? Oh, so what are we to believe? Once the child got gone, we cut off all communication. That's why you know there's something sinister that happened to the child. But see, this is why I tell myself, I'm not going to feel guilty for what I think about the Proudfoots, because every time I go back in the belly of the beast, just like what I'm doing now, and I'm recanting what was said and done, they did something to that damn boy. That right there is proof. Let Christopher tell it. We talked all the time, me and Seth and I. Well, then why aren't you talking now? Because something happened to the child. You all did something to the child. That's the whole point. How you go from talking about the child, talking in general, to we don't say nothing and the child's missing. So what sane person is going to listen to that and then say to himself or herself, okay, I don't think they did anything. I don't think they did anything at all. What are you missing? How would you miss that? Oh, we talk all the time. We have a great relationship. And then he goes over here to Court TV in Banfield, and he tells a whole different version, Mr. Rogers. I ain't talking to him. They ain't talking to me. What the hell? As Banfield said the other day. It's odd. It's strange. Parents taking off, running off, and a whole child is missing. Who does that? See, it's too peculiar behavior for people that were supposed to be talking and caring for a child. This is not normal behavior. This is not even your typical bullshit that detectives like to put out. Oh, well, we know that everybody acts different when a person missing or they dead. Yeah, but this right here, you don't get no pass on this behavior. You don't get no pass on this behavior. Because there's something sinister that has happened. It's obvious. How do you go from talking about a child to the parent to when they then go missing, you have nothing to say. You don't attempt to search. You take off and run 3.5 hours plus to Memphis, Tennessee to sleep in a trailer while the husband is working a job as a crane operator. Who the fuck does that? But yet some of you want to argue. Don't point the fingers at them. Don't accuse them. What are you going to do if they sue you? Sue. Sue me for what? I don't got anything. What you want? These flat screens? Oh, you can take this little dusty ass laptop. Take it. Take it. Knock yourself out. It's no defamation. I'm judging you according to what you have said out of your own mouth. Now, one would say, well, it's defamation. You think they did something to the boy. Well, oh well. That's my opinion. I think they did. Let me rephrase it. Make sure I say that properly. I think they unalived their boy child. And as I have said to the audience before, don't get yourself all tangled up trying to figure out the why. Why they do it? Why they do it? It doesn't matter. Because there's no sane and logical reason to kill a child. There's no reason even to go out here and kill the husband, the wife, the boyfriend, the neighbor, the friend, so-called friend. It's all the same. You have a problem with somebody, you need to just either work it out or get your tail on somewhere. You don't have to sit up here and plot the demise of another human being. To me, that's a waste of time. Because there are 50 ways to plot a death and 100 ways to get caught. And even the most meticulous of killers, such as Rex Heuermann, suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer, he thought he had everything in the bag as well, but you see where he is now. Sometimes it takes 30 plus years before you get apprehended. That's the point. Because you always forget something. Because we live in a world where you shed hair. You shed dead skin cells. You leave behind fibers. You leave a blueprint. Security cameras. Highway cameras. Store cameras. Cameras on light posts. Neighbors got cameras. You're going to always forget something. Because there's always an eye in the sky. And that's where most people fuck up. They forget about the security camera on a lamp post, light post, They forgot not to use their debit card on the run to dispose of a body, transport a body. They stopped, picked up something from the Piggly Wiggly, got something to eat, got a coffee. Because you don't think of everything. And that is how most suspects are apprehended. They forget something. Well, I'm not really sure, Vivian. Seth doesn't even really remember the damn date himself. So I don't correlate the dates because we don't have proof of when the child went missing. It's a window of the 25th and the 26th. And if you're getting the version from this woman, this female, that means nothing to me because I don't believe anything that comes out of the mouth of Katie Proudfoot. Who said something about light bulbs taken out? Well, a lot of people exactly don't know about this case. As I had told you all before, when I went into Walmart 2 weeks ago to try to find some people, just to give a live reaction pertaining to Sebastian's case. Only one girl had heard of the case, but she hadn't done any information, really dug into it. And I talked to 6, 7 people in the store. So to me, that's a lot of people to ask the question, hey, have you heard of Sebastian Rogers? And nobody could answer. But that answer is no different than when I would talk about Summer Wells to people, black and white. They had no idea what I'm talking about. And naturally, and not to be racist or racial, it's just, the world, more white people here knew about Summer Wells missing than African-American people. Because as I said before, a lot of people don't keep up with the news for one. People don't watch the news anymore. Now with this Roku and streaming apps, people aren't watching news because a lot of people don't have cable. They just have Wi-Fi. So therefore, they're not watching the 6 o'clock news, 12 o'clock news. So they don't know who the hell's missing, who was shot, who got hit by a car, hostage situation. They have no idea, and they live in the same town as the crime transpiring. I talk to people all the time about just local stories, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. So naturally, they're not going to know about the little girl missing up the highway, and they're not going to know about a boy missing over in Middle Tennessee. Just the way it is. And I remember the same thing when I was covering the West case. Someone would come on the channel and they'd say, oh, I live in Northern California. I haven't heard of these 2 little black boys missing. That's the point. Same state, and had no idea. And people assume that because people live in the same state, that they're in tune to what's going on in those jurisdictions. No, they are not. There are people who live all the way down to Memphis. They have no idea what goes on up here in Knoxville. Don't even know where it is. I remember a relative saying that to me many years ago. Oh, I don't know anything about Knoxville. And I thought to myself, what the hell are you saying? The university is here. How the hell you don't know about Knoxville? We have the university here. You have the other University of Tennessee down there at Memphis. Well, the main school is up here, and you don't know about Knoxville. That's what I'm trying to make people understand. Depending on how people live, how people navigate, they don't even keep up with shit in their own state. They don't travel to other jurisdictions in their state. There's people right now who live in the southern part of this state. They've never been to the northern part of this state. I personally have been out of each jurisdiction in the state of Tennessee, going every direction. I've gone east towards Virginia, North Carolina. I've gone south towards Chattanooga, which goes into Georgia. I've gone Middle Tennessee west to go to touch into Alabama. And I've gone all the way down to Memphis, touching into Arkansas, Mississippi, and the state of Missouri. There are people who have never left their jurisdiction in their own state. And this is why people don't keep up with what is going on in their state. They have no idea about a missing person, a dead person, a hostage situation. Because once again, as I said, people don't watch the news. A lot of people don't have cable now, so they're only banking on Wi-Fi. Luckily, we have, social media, X, Facebook, where people share stories, post stories, so more information gets out. But if you're a person that you're not in tune to true crime and breaking news of any sorts, doesn't necessarily have to be true crime, just news in general, then you're not going to know what's going on. As I had said to Regina early in the morning, I didn't keep up with this latest story, this guy running around shooting and killing people and hijacking cars and shit. I can barely keep up with my own head. There are thousands of stories breaking simultaneously, updates. Just like I just got an update on a story that I'm covering here in Knoxville of some men and one of the guys and his mother. They've been arrested for murder, torturing a young lady and her company. I've got to now bring an update about that. I didn't even get a notification. I just happened to open a notification for one story, and then I saw that in the lineup, an update. But they went to court. You can't keep up with all these stories. And sadly, who wants to? Because true crime is depressing. It's quite depressing. Welcome all Tennesseans in the house. Miss Holly, 60. Nicole says, I need to know why, although there is never an excuse for a parent to harm or take the life of their child, but it's horrific to get to know the child victim and wonder they will be found. So sad. Well, as I have said before in my commentary earlier, no, there is no reason to unalive a child. There's no sane reason. Now, we have people who are mentally ill who will say the child was possessed, this and that. That's just an unfortunate situation. If the person has been diagnosed with some type of schizophrenia illness, the child was just, as I said, a sacrificial lamb. But most times when children are unalive, there's nothing wrong with the parents. They know right from wrong. They know they have not been a good parent. They know they have checked out, and they have chosen to unalive their child for whatever selfish reason, whether it's to be with a man or a woman. They don't want to be bothered. They don't like the child. They're mad at the child's father, mad at the child's mother, sex abuse, whatever the ideology is, it's still wrong. It's still wrong. And that's why I said there's no difference between a parent killing a child, relative killing a child, versus an adult killing another adult for a stupid ass reason. You was caught with another person. You want to be with another person. You want to commit insurance fraud by getting money to unalive the person. It's all the same. There's no logical reason to do that. But that's the point. People unalive people for all types of reasons. You're mad at them. They did something to you. They said something to you. They stole something. They defrauded you. You're jealous, envy-hearted. They don't want to be with you. They don't like you anymore. They want a divorce. You divorced. You still haven't moved on. Thousands, just hundreds of reasons that people leave here by the hands of another human being. And none of it makes any sense. You can't make it make sense. I live in Morrilton, and they didn't even send out warnings until 9:30 a.m. and they knew he was in the area 7:30 the night before. Okay. Well, honey, they have to wait to put the Amber Alert out after they. Amber Alert is specific. Amber Alert is usually only put out when they have specific information pertaining to somebody taking the child, or the child was seen with another person, seen getting in a car, put in a car. That's usually when they issue an Amber Alert. It has to be very specific information, which when I sit here and think about this case, I never heard of any specific information that he got in a car, was seen being pushed in a car, dragged in a car was leaving the scene of the house. So, I don't know. Very interesting. Bear Williams, what is your problem? Defund who? Who do you want defunded? Who is it that you want defunded, ma'am? Please explain to the queen. Hello, Unruly. Why? Why do you want the police to fund it? You want random people walking around policing the streets? Think about what you're saying now. No, Barry Williams talks a lot of junk in his chat. I think she means exactly what she's saying. Well, Barry Williams, how can you say they're doing nothing? You don't know that. This is the same attitude people have with Summer Wells. Now, many people can say, well, look at the situation. It's 3 years later, she's still missing. Well, it depends on if it's foul play and the person orchestrated the crime. Then they dotted all their I's and crossed all their T's to make sure the child wouldn't be found. Same thing with an adult. If I plot the death to the T, in my opinion, that's the point. I don't want to get caught. So I'm going to do everything I can to keep from being apprehended. Whether you looking at me or not, you're going to think it's me because I knew the victim. You know, it's a difference than, you know, with the serial killer type situation. You got to put that person, the suspect, with the victim. This situation is different. These people lived in the house where the parents. They already know they're going to be looked at. They would have to be stupid to think police are not going to look at them. Every investigation starts from the inside and then they work their way out. And sometimes they never work their way out, depending on the evidence. So if the evidence keeps detectives inside, which means the family, friends, associates, then that's where the detectives will stay. Until they get information to take them outside of family, friends, then that's when they'll go outside. So that's what I'm wanting to know. Inside or outside. The only car he left there would have been Katie's. I don't believe that other. Well, yeah, I believe that's all nonsense. Well, Barry, you all over the place. Now you're talking about the monsters don't seem even nervous. Well, that goes back to my point of me saying you're possibly dealing with sociopaths, psychopaths, that both are evenly yoked. The mild-mannered display that you get from Katie Proudfoot. Then you got this boisterous Christopher Proudfoot. I still believe they're both evenly yoked, although their demeanors are different, okay? He's more loud, talkative, want to be seen. She's allegedly quiet, but like some people have said, I think there's more to her that is similar to Christopher Proudfoot. Because in the end, if this is about whatever reason to get rid of the child and the child is not alive, somebody came to a consensus to get rid of the child for whatever reason. You have to be on the same page as the other damn person. And a person don't even have to tell you, hey, I want you to kill your kid. They can give you signs they want the child gone by what they say about the child, what they say about you. And then you know, okay, I got to get rid of this kid to save my marriage, my relationship. If that was the motive. See, the different motives that you can come up with for why the child is gone if he's not alive. I've always thought the lady checked out just from looking at her demeanor at the beginning of the story. She checked out at some point in the child rearing stage. First pregnant, during pregnancy, after pregnancy, most definitely after pregnancy. If we believe she went to the military after the child was already living. So that's backwards. Most women don't do that. Well, start squealing. Will somebody squeal? No, SG. She's always making crazy comments in the chat. just call a spade a spade. Has there been a tear shed by anyone in this family? Yes. Seth was crying. Or are you talking about the Proudfoots? Seth cried during that interview. It's a Banfield. Sure did. I think Katie would. I don't think she would do too good in jail. Oh, I'm sure she wouldn't either. I agree with that comment. I don't think she'd do well either. I think she would fold. One second, everybody. I really don't think she'd make it either. Probably tell everything. But then, too, she might keep quiet. Because they probably discussed this already. You can't ever say anything. We'll both go to jail. I can only imagine their conversations since the child went missing. Good God Almighty. That's why I said, just imagine Faith being in the company of these people, and it's no telling what they've said around her. You know, you don't know what she heard from her own mother. About the situation of the little boy missing and what she's told her about her relationship with Chris. It's bad business. I just cannot accept the societal apathetic reaction of, oh yeah, well, that's what happens. I don't think she would either. I bet you would see some real tears then. What, if she got arrested? Oh, Vivian, please stop. True love. Huh. Well, I doubt it's true love. Because let's be truthful, most of us don't even know what the hell love is. Everyone has their own interpretation of love. And as you've seen, the horrific outcomes of people and what they do to each other and how they treat one another, you know it's not love. It's not open. It's not love. That's the whole point about true crime in any other situation. Everything's about interpretation. Well, that's the version they gave. No shoes. Both have given conflicting information pertaining to the disappearance of their children. As they always say, the truth needs no explanation and it never changes. So you don't need to keep adding and taking away from the story. And if your child walked out of the house, how do you know what they had on? You assuming they had on what you last saw them in. But if you don't truly know, how can you say? What would happen if Sebastian was found unalive while Faith is there? That would be so traumatic for her. Yes. And that would give Nina a reason to tell them to bring her child back to her. It's not true love. They're staying with each other for convenience right now so they can't snitch on each other. Well, people said that about the Wells too. But they were only with each other because each was trying to keep an eye on the other, or Don trying to keep an eye on Candace. Maybe something in the water. I just can't imagine walking around. That's what's scary to me, is the walking around besides people and the possibility that they've hurt the child. That's what bothers me. Besides the act itself, we don't know, if they killed the kid or not. It don't look good. But just imagine the child was unalive for whatever reason, and they've discarded the child somewhere in this state, out of the state, don't know. But they're walking around pretending to be good, wholesome people, working people, still going to Starbucks and steakhouses and eating out. That's scary as hell. That's scary as hell to me. But it happens all the time. I say that all the time when you hear all these crazy stories of people being on the run and people kidnapping people. And first thing you always say to yourself when you see a car go by you on the interstate, you see a van, you wonder, what's in that van? What's going on in that van? That guy over there in that Nissan Maxima, where is he going with those out-of-state tags? See, you don't know. And then you hear all these whack stories of people running, dumping bodies from state to state. Well, they passed you on the interstate. You think about all the people who were transported after death. Harmony Montgomery and the other case of that little boy being brought by the girlfriend from one place to the other across country. They're riding around with dead children in tubs and plastic bags, and women and men rolled up in rugs and tarps. And nobody knows what's in that car, what's in that trunk, what's in that F-150, what's in the cab. Stay woke. See, we take a lot for granted. Like right now, this is the witching hour. This is the time when people are out doing dirty deeds, walking around stalking their prey. You're up listening to this live stream in the comfort of your house, your living room, your bed, your lazy boy. But somebody's out there walking the earth looking for a victim, stalking a victim, breaking in a window, breaking in a door, breaking in a car, dragging someone from a street corner, bus stop. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Hello, Jage. Thank you. Do you ever think about that while you're slumbering in your bed and you're running that remote control up and down, looking for a channel, looking for a movie, having you a little popcorn, a little toddy, a little drink, a beer, coffee? Somebody is out here stalking a victim, hurting a victim, assaulting a victim, because you hear it all the time. So we take for granted life, waking up to the sun shining, birds chirping, cars running amok on the road. But somebody is dead that morning. Somebody didn't get up that morning. Somebody is fighting for life in a plastic bag, a tub, a drum, suffocating, wishing somebody could hear them. That's scary as hell. This is why you have to be aware of your surroundings at all times. And yes, if you can afford security cameras in your home, your house, apartment, condo, it is best you buy them. I don't know why he only has 3 pairs of shoes. You might want to ask them that, dear. Well, of course. Yes, the U-Haul. Well, that's why I said we take life for granted. Waking up in places you had no idea that someone in your apartment building or your neighborhood was unalive, beat up. Someone tried to break in their house, broke in their house, robbed them, assaulted them physically, sexually. Somebody's being sexually assaulted down the street, a little girl, a little boy. You think you know the neighbor, the father, the sister, the brother, the husband. You don't know people. That's the point of the story. That this story is no different than any other story out here. And that's how I judge the Sebastian Rogers case. To me, it is no different than any other story. And it probably will have a really jacked up ending like these other stories. And as I've told people with this case, the case of the West Boys, the case of Summer Wells, why would those cases be any different than all these other missing children cases where foul play transpired? And naturally, you can't judge every story the same, but this one is not looking good at all. We are now almost at the 4-month mark, and we don't have an update pertaining to anything, whether it's criminal, whether there are suspects, leads, nothing. And it's horrific. He had 3 pairs of shoes. My nephew's 9, and I swear he's got 12 pairs. Well, it's just like what I was thinking about earlier. I was watching something, and my mind wandered off about what we accumulate. Everybody spends their money on different things. Oh, I was watching a video last night. This black girl was talking about living in, low-income housing or whatever. And she was showing her apartment. And she went into her linen closet and she said, "Oh, I hate going to people's houses and they don't have spare towels, washcloths." She said, "I don't understand how anybody could not have a spare washcloth or towel." So I was laughing, to myself, listening. And naturally, I get that because I'm one of those type of people. I believe in having a spare. My father taught me that as a young woman. He said a woman should always have a spare everything. Spare pot, pan, silverware, glassware. Now that came from a man, not my mother, but my father. As my father said, that's the one thing a woman should never have is an empty house, empty apartment. She should always have a spare. And I have carried that ever since he told me that at the age of 22. So that's 30 plus years ago. I agree. You need a spare. Now, do you need 50 washcloths? Of course not. But you should have several. Towels, washcloths, shoes, socks, underwear, so on and so forth. Maybe they didn't care to have him have different pairs of shoes. And he didn't have an active life where he was going places to where he possibly needed nice dress clothes, khakis. Because a lot of people here in the South don't dress up. So depending on his lifestyle with the Proudfoots, they probably felt he didn't need a lot of clothes and shoes. But that would be very interesting to know how many shirts he had, pants, so on and so forth. Very interesting observation. Very interesting. Hello, Regina. How are you? The link is in the chat if you'd like to join the Queen. If not, I'm not going to hold you all much longer. But that is an interesting thought process. That's why I say when you go back in time, naturally there are going to be things about these people. You're never going to know the truth. You're never going to find out every little detail of who said what, how a person was living. But it is interesting when you think about that, about the shoes. It's a very interesting point. What did that child have in his room? Clean linen, change linen, sheets. As we heard all this nonsense about a mattress in the garage and all of those type of foolishness. You start to wonder and assess, what did the police see when they went in the house? See, I would love to be a fly on the wall because the house is the soul of the person, okay? The house is the soul of the person. No different than your car. Your car tells a lot about you. How you keep your car. Naturally, if your car is clean, people are going to assume your house is clean. Vice versa. Messy car, messy house. So I'd like to see what their house looked like. Not the house that's on the market before they moved in. What they have in there. I want to see every room. How it's decorated. What was in the refrigerator? What was in Sebastian's room? Bed made, unmade. See, all that's going to matter. Tub dry, tub wet. See, I bet none of you ever thought about that. But none of you thought about that because you all don't think of everything. You're too busy listening to all this other garbage. See, you can get caught up in your lies from what you tell law enforcement the moment they touch down about a missing person. So let's role play. What time did you go to bed, ma'am? Oh, he went to bed at 10. And what did he do before that? Oh, well, he took a bath. He did this, he did that. Now, naturally, by the time they got there, the tub would be dry. But you need to see washcloths, towels hanging. Were there any towels hanging, washcloths hanging, things like that? See, all those things are going to be relevant to the story that the people spin about the missing person, such as shoes, clothes, linen, bed made, unmade, spare sheets, spare towels. All those things are relevant. Hello, how are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Miss Queen?
I'm good. What are you doing up?
We just got done watching a scary movie with the hubby.
Oh, what did you watch?
That new movie, Tarot.
Who?
That new movie, Tarot.
About where can I find it?
You got to pay to rent it off of.
Well, that's
Amazon.
what I'm saying. Oh, well, where did you pay for it?
Amazon Prime. I paid
Amazon Prime. Okay, I'm gonna check it out.
Yeah,
I'll check it out after I get off this live. Okay, so I had 2 questions pertaining to this live stream. Tony Mathis's comment to News Nation about where the Sumner County is as far as evidentiary material. Do they have more answers now versus 4 months ago? And also faith. Is faith the reason that Sebastian is gone? Knock yourself out.
Well, I think that quite possibly Sumner County shot itself in the foot from the very get-go of this case and treated it as a runaway. So I think they limited their own selves to evidence in this case that would bring about justice or prosecution or even possibly finding Sebastian.
Well, but you got to think about this. At some point, they would have to double back. They've been back to the house allegedly.
Right. But as we both know, there are certain ways to get rid of
Oh, yeah, of course. If you didn't. Well, let's just go here.
And having longer
If you're doing a thorough job, you wasn't supposed to leave a stone unturned anyway, no matter what you thought. It's not for you to think. That's why they always tell you that. With Summer Wells, they said that with TBI, remember? We cannot just sit and focus on one thing particularly because that's not good, detective work. We have to assess all situations. So even if you went in, whoever the lead investigator was, and he or she assumed he ran away, you're still not supposed to bank on that because 1, you don't know the child. 2, you don't know the parents.
Exactly. But in this case, I don't think they did assume anything other than he ran away. And I think by then it was too late. I think that the Proudfoots actually knew, like, maybe it's not a cover-up on law enforcement's part, but I think they knew someone in law enforcement. And because of that, the investigation was never criminal to start with, as I believe it should have been.
So think about what you're saying. So even if they knew a deputy's not investigating. So you basically saying that they'd have to tell the deputy to go tell a detective, don't look over here, don't look at these people.
Well, no, I'm saying that they likely knew someone in the police force, and that person on the police force was like, yeah, this is, I know these people, this probably.
Well, that's the same thing I'm saying. Yeah, if it's not a detective, you're still putting yourself in a situation of telling a lead detective how to think.
Right, but this happens every day.
Well, it does. But I don't think at this point that's where they are. Because they have TBI, CIA, and other agencies. And I'm assuming somebody has put their 2 cents in.
Right. And I don't think it is that way now, per se. But I do think that happened in the beginning, and it limited the investigation.
Okay.
In the early stages of the investigation. And at this point, I think Sumner County themselves realizes, and TBI realizes, that they didn't come in and handle the case properly, and it's going to be a cold case because of it.
Well, as the chief deputy or whoever he is has said recently, we are who you want on the case. So I hope that he is keeping his word, and he is not letting there be any outside influences from others that are related to the boy or anybody else. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Because the government, this is what people don't understand about the government. The government don't have to ride on a conspiracy with other agencies. They are outside, and the government is just what it is. It's the government. When they come in, they're going to find any type of discrepancy, any type of lie, any type of cover up. And they're not going to sit here and say, well, we're not going to say anything because we're all good old boys. That's not the national government. They're not getting ready to do that with some local hillbilly ass sheriff's department. They find
but it only
that's off, they're going to call it.
Right, but it only takes one person. But it only takes one person that you know inside that deputy's office to be one of the first people on scene to make things disappear too.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this: you can do all the disappearing shit you want. There's other things you can't make disappear, such as surveillance cameras. Things you've done with your, listen. Things you've done with your debit card.
Mm-hmm.
What you bought, what you spent. See, that's what nobody's thinking about. You're not even knowing if this was planned a day ago, 2 weeks ago. Now, you understand where I'm going?
Yeah.
As far as we know, if this was planned a day ago, 5 days ago, you probably bought some things. Nobody's talking about that.
Yeah.
You don't know what somebody bought. What if we're talking about something more sinister, kind of like with the Gilgo Beach?
Ooh.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. And that's something I haven't heard on nobody's network. What if we're talking about a really worst case scenario of torture and getting the child gone to where there's no evidence? See, you don't know. You don't know what they searched, Google search, what's been bought recently, what's been bought after the fact, what's been removed from the house. Because bigger items, you cannot hide moving them out. I don't care if you load it in the garage, it's still got to be able to go out of the house. So what are you going to do? Back in what? A U-Haul truck to load it so nobody can see? Possibly. People still talk. Oh, I saw a U-Haul truck backed up. Oh, I saw a delivery truck picking up stuff. People talk.
Mm-hmm. But has anyone said anything like that? I mean, the neighbors, apparently
they probably have. We don't know about it. Right. It doesn't have to, listen, it doesn't have to make it to YouTube for it not to be true.
Right. That's true. That's very true.
Because people don't seem to understand, people on YouTube that watch YouTube aren't realistic. These people have to still live around these jokers. So really would be a good idea to come to YouTube and tell things like that anyway, because you have to still live around these people. That's why I found it interesting when allegedly neighbors were coming forward to speak to whoever, Sweetie Pie Low or whoever. I never could understand that, only because you got to live next door to the Proudfoots or across the street. That really was not a good idea to come to YouTube and tell that. If you told law enforcement, that's different, but not a YouTuber.
Right. I do think she did tell law enforcement that, to be fair. But at the same time, I don't think that the neighbors
I would not have come to YouTube. I'm talking about whoever was talking next door or across the street. You should have never came to YouTube. That's not sensible.
Yeah, it's not. I completely agree with that.
You're talking about a child missing. So if a person can get a child or a human missing, what makes you think they can't get your ass gone?
Right. I agree with that. But at the same time, I do feel like if that woman was speaking on behalf of the neighbors, like she said.
Oh my God, that's who you're talking about. I'm not talking about that woman. I'm not talking about her. I'm talking about whoever lived right next door.
Oh yeah, no, they haven't said anything.
That's what I'm
Have
saying.
they?
But what I'm saying, from what was told to me, these people live right across the street and next door who have talked. So the Proudfoots know that you have spoken, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they talked to the neighbor that did come on YouTube, allegedly.
So that's what I'm saying. That you shouldn't have done that.
No?
You want to tell the police something, that's different. The police knows not to go tell the Proudfoots, oh yeah, Pookie next door came and said something to me. Now, it's not to say the stupid ass deputies wouldn't be stupid enough to be talking loud where it gets back to them, and one of the other deputies or somebody could go back and tell it. You have to worry about that too. So that's why I'm saying, this is why you have to think before speaking. I would have never come to YouTube telling nothing about what I saw in the neighborhood pertaining to that morning or the day before, 2 months before. No. Because you got to live over there. We don't live over there.
Right. That's true.
This is entertainment for people. You know, oh, they got somebody on the panel. Oh, they said they live over there. Oh. But in the end, when the shit pop off, nobody's going to be around when the shit goes down.
It's true.
Nobody's going to be around when somebody gets their door kicked in, or somebody's car got all flat tires, or somebody's put sugar in the tank or some crazy ass shit, or somebody runs you off the damn road.
Yep. I had a friend at work that was messing around with someone's old lady, got his gas tank sugared one time. I thought to myself, well, that's on you. You earned that. And he did.
So what?
Yeah, I went to work. I was working with this guy at Dillard's, of all places. And
the department store?
Yeah, the department store.
Yeah, that's my favorite store.
Yeah. I used to work at Dillard's way back in the day in the lady shoes department. I used to average $7,000 a month in shoe sales.
Oh, you worked on commission?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh God, yeah, I heard about dealers who work on commission.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, good money. But he was cheating on his girlfriend, and evidently, his old lady found out, or I guess his old lady, or she found out about his old lady. One way or another, one of those crazy women found out about the other one, and she sugared his gas tank.
Yeah.
And he made it like about 2 blocks away from Dillard's before the engine froze up. Yeah.
So he never found out who did it?
No, he never knew which one of them did it, but he said it had to have been one of them. I asked him, I said, are you sure? If you're messing with 2, how do I know you're not messing with 3 or 4 out there? You know, you don't. Yeah. That's why you don't know who did it, because you're doing all this dirt to people.
Well, that's true, and that's dangerous too, because guess what? Sugar in the tank one day and a bullet in the head the next.
Or a cut brake line. Yep.
Or a bullet to the head.
Or a bullet to the head. Yep.
You can't be out here doing these type of things that people think they won't pop off. That's why I was just saying earlier, what you may do, another person won't do. People are unhinged now. So even when people see people going to jail, prison for crimes, they'll still go out here and do the same damn thing.
Yeah. What people don't realize is maybe those thoughts that we've had when we were angry at someone, that our better sense kept us from doing. There's people out here that don't have the better sense to keep them from doing it.
Yeah, because it's easy to pop off when we get mad and do stuff. But that's the whole point. You have to tell yourself, is this worth me going to prison? Because we're not talking about petty thievery or even just breaking out a window of a house or something. When you go to the point of breaking and entering, pushing in doors, tying up people, torturing people, unaliving them, you've gone too damn far.
Yeah. Yep.
But people do it all the time.
They do. Every day. Every day.
Can you see the chat? Can you see the chat where you are?
Yeah, if I put it on there. I had it on private chat.
Well, put it on there because I got to step away for a second.
Okie dokie.
And just,
okie dokie,
you can address the chat for just a second.
Alrighty, I got you, Queen.
Okay.
Bear Williams says there's a lot of badder, bigger, badder folk. Why do they assume that they're not going to be the victims of someone? You know, a lot of us do. I think a lot of us give ourselves too much credit. A lot of times whenever it comes to what we're doing to other people and not realizing that we might not be the one that's really scheming as opposed to someone else. That's why I always tell people whenever you are watching someone what they're doing, remember for every set of eyes you got on someone else, there's 10 set of eyes back on you. People, we gotta be more focused on what we're doing than what everyone else is doing. Because whenever we're focused on what someone else is doing instead of what we're doing, we get messed up. Hey, Brady. It's good to see you. There was 10 police cars up and down the street. Cops all through the house. You're talking about at the Proudfoot's home, Vivian? I heard there were a lot of police cars there. I think that a lot of the problem with the case dealing with the Proudfoots is a lack of physical evidence. I really do. I really do. And reasons to get warrants if they have no evidence to support warrants. You know what I mean? But then again, they did search, but I heard that the guy gave them permission, but they still obtained a search warrant for that landfill. They searched it. I mean, maybe it's been a criminal case from day one, but all you got to do is not do bad to people, and most likely it won't come back to you. That's true. That's true. Not lie to people and stuff like that. Typically, whenever we're doing things to other people, we don't realize it, but those are the kind of things that are the people we cater to, and our behavior that leads us to cater to those people cause us to be surrounded with people that demonstrate the same behaviors as us. And we tend to find ourselves in a bad situation whenever we're doing bad, and we've put ourselves in alignment with those people by our own actions. You know what I mean? So whenever we're doing that kind of bad stuff, we attract even more worse people that are doing more bad than us. Why? Because they feel comfortable when we're doing bad and they see us doing bad. Well, they feel comfortable seeing us do bad because we're in their zone then. You know what I mean? So we might not be as bad as the person that we've aligned ourselves with, but we're sitting there thinking we're birds of a feather when really you are birds of a feather, but not to the same degree. And then the person that you've aligned yourself with that's been doing it to all these other people, and you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm special, they're not going to do it to me. Well, then you get worse what you've done to people back on you because of who you have aligned yourself with. It happens every day. Bad things do happen to good people. That's true. That is true. But at the same time, I've seen a lot of bad people get theirs too. My mom always said you are judged by the company you keep, and boy, it's true. Yeah, it is. Yep, negative people attract, Brady. That is exactly right. That is exactly right. And I think y'all know what? One of the things that gets me the most, about the Proudfoots and the whole situation is I don't think there's been but that one girl that knew Katie back when in college or whatever, or in basic training or whatever. They were friends a long time ago. I think that I think it's weird that people haven't stepped up into the role. Like if something happened to one of my kids, I know there would be people to step up and say, no, I know that's not true because I know these people and I know how they are. I've seen it in action. And I think it's strange that we're not getting that with anyone involved in Sebastian's case. We're not having anybody step up and say, no, I know that they didn't do nothing wrong because they're good parents.
And why is that?
Yeah, why? Because they're not good parents. People testify to what they've seen. People speak on things they've seen most of the times. And I think that the reason we're not hearing people say, oh, they were good parents is because nobody's witnessed that. What do you think?
About what?
What I just said. Why do you think that their people aren't coming out saying, oh, they were good parents? I know they love him.
Maybe there's people, one, they don't want to get involved. People have to, everybody has their different reasons for why they don't speak up about anything. It doesn't even have to be true crime, murder, or missing person. Some people just don't like to get involved. And you see this a lot with people's attitudes in general. You hear people say it all the time, well, it don't have nothing to do with me, none of my business. You hear it all the time. So maybe the people that know them don't want to speak out of fear of retaliation, or just, they still got to deal with the people because they're related to the Proudfoots. I don't know. I don't know the people. I don't know them. I don't know their family members. I don't know the neighbors. See, all that matters. Why nobody wants to say anything. Then you got to remember, this is a small town too. So you still got to bump into people. See, that's one thing people don't understand that don't live in small towns. These people still have to bump into each other at the Walmart, grocery stores. All it takes is you start talking, telling stuff. Now somebody's bumping into you at the Walmart or the steakhouse or the Chinese buffet. You see where I'm going?
Yeah, I see where you're going with it.
Yeah, small towns have to be very careful about speaking publicly about stuff.
Mm-hmm. I agree, you do.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, like, Seth Rogers' mom has spoken and said, well, my son was a good, father, this, that, or the other.
Oh, I hear. Okay, I understand what you're saying. Okay, so, well, you're answering your own question. Hello?
But no, I mean, like, you haven't heard.
No, but I just said, listen, you're answering your own question. Do you not realize you're answering your own question?
I guess I kind of am.
Yes. That would be the first thing you would run out of breath to say in a delicate way where it don't look like you're trying to, stir the pot. You'd say, really, when you think about it, you can't say it anyway because it won't look good if you come out and say, oh, they didn't have nothing to do with it. That wouldn't be a good idea. So you would just talk politely about the child, which you don't have none of that coming from Mr. Proudfoot's family. Or Katie's family.
Right. Which Katie's family, I think that we know why they're not talking.
I don't know why are they not talking.
Well, if all these allegations and stuff are true about the mother and the sister, then nobody would listen to them if they did talk, right? Nobody wants to hear what people with those kind of things against them have to say, right? Really? Would you want to hear someone that was charged with predatorizing a child? Would you want to hear what they had to say about someone they thought was a good parent or not?
Due to that type of situation, she knew it would be best for nothing to come out of her mouth anyway.
Yeah.
So, but that doesn't mean that other people can't speak on behalf of the child and Katie Proudfoot.
Exactly, but they're not. Like, and it's just it blows my mind. Is it the Bauer Sox, the Bauer Sites, whatever their name is? Like,
and I'm so sick
I
of
don't
that
know.
name.
Just the family's not right. It sounds like something, a boss mob off of Nintendo, Mario Brothers. I don't understand why. Like, I'd be speaking up for my son or my daughter. You know what I mean? If I knew that they were a good person, and I wouldn't care about the backlash. Whenever you love someone and you want to defend them out of love, you don't care about the backlash you get, right? So why?
Just depends. We'll address a cure in the chat about don't look like they have a lot of friends. They may not have a lot of friends. That's why I said you don't really know. If you go to the Facebook page of Mr. Proudfoot, I looked on there weeks ago. There would be a few people who would, chime in on little memes and things he would post. So somebody still supports him. That's just a story. Somebody still supports both Proudfoot, Seth, so on and so forth. They just don't have to come out and stand on top of a ledge and scream at the top of their lungs because we think that they should. Do you understand what I'm saying? Naturally, there are probably some quiet supporters. They're just not on YouTube and they're just not going to the news. That's all. But believe me, they have supporters. They're not public. They're probably saying little things in their messenger and, agreeing to the little stupid memes that Christopher's a weird person. He posts very weird memes and shit on his YouTube, on his Facebook page. Because I've viewed it. Something's still off there.
Give me about 45 seconds, Queen. I'll be right back. I got to get a drink.
Hello, everybody in the chat. That's why if they go to jail, you let them learn their lessons. Well, if they go to jail, if they've done something. Okay, Bear. If I knew something my child did, say something regardless. Okay. What? Who mom about? ASG. I don't know. I'm exasperated. I'm exasperated with Summer Wells. I'm exasperated with this case. And I do not want to look up and be talking about this case 3 years from now, 2 years from now. I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine.
I think we will be.
Well, that's not a positive thing to say, Virginia.
I just don't think that I don't think that they handled it right from the beginning. I really don't, and I think that they limited themselves.
Let's go there for just a second. You're never going to get the truth about that.
Right, exactly.
Nobody's going to own that they listened to other people. They took advice from people because they were townies and in cahoots with the Proudfoots. Nobody's going to ever admit that.
That's exactly why I think that the DA isn't turning this case over completely to the FBI.
Because of what?
Because of egg on their face. I think it's a pride thing.
Well, it probably is. I think it's no different. I think it's the same with the Summer Wells. Ronnie Lawson didn't want anybody else coming in to take the credit if indeed they found the child or found evidence to say it was foul play. We want to take the credit. But it looks bad at this point because you have been the lead investigator and you haven't brought forward any new information. Now, it's not to say they don't have leads, but you've got to have enough to go before to the district attorney. And that could be the problem here. We've got something, but it's got to stick because we don't want it to fall. Yep. That's something a lot of people don't think about when it comes to indictments and going before the grand jury and the district attorney. You got to make it stick. You want to make sure it sticks so nothing can be thrown out later, any technicalities. You want shit that's going to stick, not he said, she said, and all that.
Right. And you know what would be even worse is if it was like Crystal Rogers' case, who I'm a distant relative of, where you had someone on the inside that was literally destroying evidence and not sending documents back and forth. Or if it ended up being like Gilgo Beach, where you had cops that were visiting the ladies, and that's the reason the case went nowhere, because they would have been incriminating themselves. I mean, there's so many different reasons why this case could and probably is going to go cold. Like Summer Wells, sadly. I mean, it's been 3 years and there's nothing. A suspicion, but nothing. And you're right, it does. It takes hard evidence or a whole lot of circumstantial evidence
Yeah.
to even get charges brought against anyone, you know. But I do know that people don't walk out front doors without being captured on camera whenever there's a
Yeah,
camera
I
present.
refuse to believe that anyway, because those people have nice homes, and it's not to say that some people don't have security cameras, but I'm assuming they've got enough cameras just in the general area from back to front to get a visual of a child walking somewhere.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our neighborhood, I know like maybe two of my neighbors that don't have cameras, but there are enough cameras between the rest of them. You can't step on their property without being recorded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe it's the same way there, like it is in most higher end neighborhoods, you know?
Yeah.
You don't pay 30, you don't pay $350,000 plus for a house and not have security. That's just foolish. That's just foolish.
Well, but look at these famous people who keep getting their houses broken into. I can't remember who that was I saw the other day. They said, oh, Goldie Hawn. I saw a pop-up article saying she's had several break-ins. How? You and Kurt should have enough money to have security systems on your house. How do you keep having break-ins? I've heard this so many times with famous people getting their houses, Paris Hilton, all these different people. How do these people keep breaking in your house? That shit sounds personal to me.
Yeah. Yeah. You'd think it'd be somebody with the keys and the security
Well,
code, huh?
that's somebody that knows something.
Somebody with the keys and the security code,
It's
huh?
something. It could be fraud, it could be deliberate, could be, insurance fraud. Who's to say? You can't, I'm not about to sit here and say because somebody's famous they wouldn't commit insurance fraud. People commit insurance fraud all the time.
Yeah. Just like nobody broke into Sebastian's house and kidnapped him. He didn't step outside and walk off into the dark and vanish.
They never told you it was a break-in.
Nope, because there wasn't. Their only defense is he walked out that door. But then again, if he walked out that door, why isn't he on camera? I mean, and if there's no, and I believe it. I believe there's no scent trails that lead away from that home, or else they would have followed him. They would have found him. They would have found something. But if you put someone in a vehicle in a garage that they're used to sleeping in, that they sleep in regularly, and you got tinted windows, or you put them in the trunk or the back seat laying down, however, and you exit out of that garage, there's a really good chance that that person that's in that car is never going to be seen on camera leaving that home. Matter of fact, the chances of them being caught on camera when you leave that home are next to nothing at that point.
Well, Jen, I don't think Kohlberger's going to get off. I don't know why you're saying that, but I don't see Kohlberger getting off because you don't know all the evidence they have against him. They haven't began to give us 2% of what they have. I think it's going to be a treasure trove against Kohlberger when it's time to go to court.
Mm-hmm. Me too, Queen.
Yeah,
and his alibi about the stargazing on a night when the visibility was less than a quarter of a mile with rain.
Yeah,
and
you don't know what witnesses you have. You don't know people. You don't know how many people can put him over there in that car. You got to remember, there's an apartment building that faces the house where the house used to sit. The back of an apartment building.
Queen.
They have
Queen, I got one even better for you.
They have an apartment to the right. They have an apartment building facing the house. The back of an apartment, a long building. You don't know how many times a person could have been sitting in that room, looking, seeing that car sit out there, drive up and down the street. So you got to count eyewitness testimonies of seeing the car in the neighborhood parked, driving
Queen,
down the
it's
street.
even better than that. It's even better than that. You ain't even got to rely on the eyewitness testimony. If he was within 30 feet of any Bluetooth device that was powered on, there is a blueprint of his Bluetooth code written within 30 feet of everywhere he touched. You don't even need witnesses.
I'm just speaking in general terms, sweetheart. You don't know what they have as far as anything. Data, eyewitness, because it's just like what I said. when you're not planning things properly, you forget things, such as the pinging off of Wi-Fi, this and that. Somebody was walking their dog. They seen your car sitting out there. We know he sat out there because they got him there right right before the start of school, August or something. What are you doing way over there in the neighborhood? For what? You don't have any friends. You don't have any family. So what were you doing?
Yeah.
Now, do people travel to other towns next door? Yeah, I travel to all type of towns, but I'm doing something when I'm going to those places. I'm not just driving around, which by right, I have a right as a citizen to go where I want. Let me make that clear. He has the right to go where he wants, but
Absolutely.
You really don't have a logical reason to say why your Wi-Fi car is pinging and seen near the scene, the crime scene at the street. He was right outside the door that morning. You basically can't explain that if nothing else. Why is your car there at 9-something in the morning? For what? On a Sunday? For what?
There ain't no church
You don't know
near
them. You're not friends with them. Why are you sitting outside the house at 9-10 in the morning? Because you forgot the night sheath.
Well, here's one even better for you, Queen. Think about how easy it is to still forget something when you plan everything out meticulously. I mean, suppose you're going on a vacation in a month. Okay, you spend that whole month preparing to go on vacation, and I promise you, you will forget something every time.
You always do. I make a list and still forget stuff. I can walk around this apartment and talk to myself, put this down, write this down. Then I go sit back down, then I get back up. Okay, forgot something else, put it on there. Then you get to the store, you think, oh, damn. Oh, yeah, I need this right here. So even if I have an itemized list, there's still, I'll see something else in the store that I want.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Because that's the point. There's always going to be something that you're going to forget.
Yes, always. Always. And you're always going to take something and leave something behind. Always. Everywhere you go. You can't avoid it. It's literally unavoidable. There's going to be some trace that you were there.
Let's talk about faith. Do you believe faith? Do you believe the child, Sebastian, was unalive to get her there permanently and or there that summer? And so also, I guess I tied into so Christopher could return home and would believe the commentary he's given on networks about no boy's going to run me out from my house, so on and so forth.
I believe in order for Katie to keep Chris and win things back over with Chris and have her happy little household and have a normal child in her household, absolutely.
Now imagine sacrificing your child to keep a man, which we know this has happened in many cases, child abuse anyway. People allowing their men or women to beat up on the children, abuse their kids, physically, mentally, sexually. But to plan a murder, let's say, you're a cold bitch, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. But then again, I think there's only one justifiable reason for death, and that's to protect life. And prevent monsters and bad people from doing things to other people. So I think all murder is wrong unless you're defending life.
Say what?
I think that there's never any reason to kill unless you're defending a life.
Oh, okay.
Now, don't get me wrong. I believe some people need a good old passion, fashion, and you know what? Whipping.
Now listen to SG's comment. Many people overextend themselves financially, especially with the cost of homes now. It is possible there was a security system due to cost, even with the discount. It could also be on purpose. Well, SG, you can't do anything but ask those two why you didn't have any security cameras up.
Yeah.
You got motorcycles, expensive trucks, campers. You can't afford a security system. Most people are going to look at that as suspicious. You got money for everything else. You're paying all these fucking car notes for this, mortgage, lights, gas, water. But
not
you don't
to
have
mention the fifth wheel.
Listen, you don't have a security system to protect all your valuables. Hello, Justice.
They do appear to have a lot of assets, don't they, for someone that makes less than $100,000 a year?
Well, could have help. For all we know.
Yeah.
I thought I read somebody saying something about the house is in the mother's name. I'm not sure if that's true.
It wouldn't surprise me. But from what I've come to understand, the Bower Sox themselves do have means.
Well, that's what people have been saying.
But I don't know that to be a fact, but
yeah, because people do talk.
Right. A lot of people do. But then again, there's a certain point when you only make so much money that a bank is not going to give you a loan on a $500,000 home if you make $30,000 a year, $50,000.
Well, we know he's not making $30,000. So he's counting his income, her income, and then that's also including whatever amount they put down on the house. So you got to think about all that too. You got to think about that when they bought the house was a little cheaper, $200,000 or so cheaper. So all those things matter. Credit, you may have good credit. See, all those things matter when buying a house.
You're right. You're completely right. You are.
And I don't think their house was that fancy on the inside, just from what we've seen in the pictures of the Chronicle Olivia's, just simple wooden furniture. It's not like they had, HGTV modern shit in their house. Because I didn't see that in the pictures.
Right, we haven't seen any of that.
Not their house don't look nothing like the stuff I show on my channel of these newer homes, how they're modern furniture, pretty chandeliers and shit. They ain't got none of that in there. I doubt it. Because that's probably not how they want to live. They're taking their money buying campers, trucks, motorcycles, shit like that. But it still costs because you got to have insurance on everything. You got to have insurance on the camper.
Yeah.
You got to have insurance on your cars. You got to have insurance on the motorcycles. That's just expensive.
Very expensive. The more you have, the more money it takes to maintain it.
Exactly. So if you think just what they own alone, paying out just an insurance, let's just say the trucks and cars are paid for. You still got to pay insurance on all those items.
Exactly, you do. It just, I don't know. It doesn't seem like
they
had to have had a lot
VA. They could have got a VA loan for the house. Very true, Ebony. Very good point. Glad you said that.
Oh yeah, that is a good point.
Say what?
That is a very good point. They were both. Yeah.
VA loan. Exactly. Thanks for saying that. Very true.
Yeah.
And then you count, like I said, what savings they had to put down on the house, having good credit, all those things matter. Didn't think about that. They could have got, next really nothing for the house. He already has a good paying job. As I said, he probably has good credit. Because a lot of guys don't spend a lot of money, on frivolous things. Guys usually like bigger toys than women. Women spend their money on shoes, clothes, that type of shit. Guys, if they buy anything, it's usually a bigger item. They'll walk around with the same dirty jeans and be, walking around with a $50,000 truck.
I know that's true.
Yeah, you see it all the time. You see it all the time. That's why I said you can go in a lot of people's driveways and see nice cars, and you go in the house, you don't know if they're going or they're coming. Barely got furniture, barely got furnishings, but they got a $50,000, $60,000 truck in the driveway. A lot of people live like that.
So I think me and my husband are kind of, well, no, actually, he probably has the most expensive toys because of his drones and robotics and stuff.
He has what?
Robotics.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I got one of those. I got an IT professional husband.
But I'm just saying, everybody is different. Everybody's priorities are different. And that's what people don't understand. You looking through the looking glass, you'd say, well, I'd buy this, I'd do this. Well, they could not have had a security system. Whether she worked for the company or not, it don't mean she wanted to work for have their security system. See, you don't know, you have to know them.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, it should be one of the only people I've ever met, though, that worked for Brinks that didn't have their own home security system because of the
I'm saying she could have a security system, but it don't mean it's through Brinks. It could be somebody else.
Yeah, that's true, too. Yeah, I got a friend that has a security system that it's not even like there's not a company and stuff. He bought his home security system, has cameras and all that connected to his phone, everything else, but he doesn't go through like a service and pay a monthly plan for it and stuff. I think it's the Ring.
Yeah, it's like going to work for Nissan, but you're driving a Ford.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You had the Ford before you went to work for Nissan, so you don't just change your car just necessarily because you work for Nissan. You gotta have money. If they say, well, hey, we'll get you another car, but you not want a Nissan, but you work for them. You understand what I'm saying? But they don't mean necessarily you want a Nissan just because you work for Nissan.
Yeah. It's not like Old Navy where you have to buy the clothes and wear the clothes to work that you sell.
Very stupid. Who said you gotta wear an Old Navy clothes? Where you get that from?
If you work at Old Navy, you have to wear their products whenever you're on the clock. You have to buy their clothes and wear.
I have never heard that.
Yeah, look it up. It's real. I'm telling you. That's a real thing. Yeah, you have to wear Old Navy brand clothing if you work at Old Navy brand, and if you're working in the storefront. Now, if you work at like the warehouse,
what are you talking about? Who are you speaking of with these these houses? Stafford Court, 496,323 on the Remington Avenue house. What are you talking about? Vivian, you got to think positive. You're thinking too negative, dear. Oh, I think they got Corberger just where they want them.
Oh yeah, I think his goose is cooked.
Yeah, I think they have a whole lot on here.
51 terabytes. 51 terabytes of data is like, man, that is a ridiculous amount of data.
See, I don't know nothing about that. So that's my point. If you've been a busy bee, you left a blueprint, point blank.
Yep.
Because people do.
Yep.
I won't doubt that he went out there just to be close to them. I won't doubt he found whoever he liked. He found them on social media even before he touched down. Because Banfield mentioned that last winter, 23, that it's possible he was stalking a girl or girls a year before he even touched down in Washington State. That would be even more crazy. Because listen, when you on IG, lots of people come up in the suggestions. It does not mean those people live right where you live. Just a suggestion. They could be in Idaho, New York, Pennsylvania, California. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
For all we know, he was in there. Suggestions came up. Could have been one of the girls. He looked, oh, she's pretty. Could have been checking out the school itself. You know, trying to apply to one of the programs. Could have seen one of the girls in a photograph. Anything he don't know. But the fact that they brought it up, there's probably some truth to it. I won't doubt he did discover the girl or girls before he ever moved to Washington State. And perhaps that was the motivation for applying to school. He could have applied to Idaho, didn't get accepted. So then let me apply to Washington State. Oops, I got in. Now, boom, I'm touched down. You don't find it strange? He's already driving around the fucking Idaho when he lives in Washington, 15 minutes away. But still, what are you doing over there? Riding around, looking around, sitting outside their house. Because he possibly found them before he ever moved.
It's interesting that you bring that up because if you look at the dockets and what's in the PCA and stuff and everything that's been presented so far and what's been said in live court, we happen to know from search warrant affidavits that they went back 2 years in his social media. Why did they go back 2 years? Well, evidently someone was convinced that there was data that was important to this case 2 years previous.
Oh, they lived in Gallatin? Okay. Thank you. Damn, you all really be digging in stuff. Good God Almighty.
Oh,
well,
it's easy.
It might be a rental property. People do buy homes to rent to other people, you know, for rental property. He may have rental property. So that might be another way for them to make money. Buying houses and renting them. A lot of people do that. They own properties as rental properties. So they might be renting it out, Airbnb, different things like that.
Yeah, that's actually a good way to make money.
Mm-hmm.
It's very profitable to own properties.
So if he owns another house, that's probably what he's doing. They're renting it out.
Yep. I would agree to that.
And then the rent is high. It's held now. So they a couple $1,000s a month for a house. It's damn good money.
Yeah.
And you now have one mouth less to feed. How about
or
that?
buy shoes for.
Stop.
Sorry. You know what I mean, though, Quinty. You know it. Everything just got a little cheaper, though, for real. Kids are not cheap. Costs money to raise a kid.
Yeah. They know how you spend it.
Yep.
You all
My
are really
son-
cheap down there.
I mean, especially my son, with health insurance and everything, you know, we still had to pay money for his occupational therapies and stuff. Special things he needed growing up to help with his education and other things. A weighted blanket when he was little to help him that cost like $200 and something. Well, that thing ain't big enough for a toddler. He outgrew it, but still, that stuff's expensive.
I've bumped into a few people that say they have autistic children. Met somebody today. She had an autistic son, older lady.
Yep. My son's 19. And he still lives at home, but he can live at home forever if he wants to. I
Can he,
don't mind.
can he go out on his own and maintain?
To a degree. To a
Explain.
degree. He has a hard time with money. He has a hard time. He can't maintain his own finances. He can use a microwave and he can cook small things pretty easily, but like to prepare himself an actual full meal and stuff that wasn't a microwave dinner, no. He has to be reminded to do things that are necessary for his hygiene and stuff like that sometimes, you know. Things like that. Like, I guess he would survive on his own, but it would be terrible. Does that make sense?
Do you think he can live on his own, Gina?
No. No. Without assistance of some kind, my son's never going to be able to live on his own.
Well, Ebony, he'd be a fool to do anything to that property. That would not be a good idea.
You know, Chance Grace, it's funny that you should ask that question. You should go read the study that just come out that is verified by peers, the research that just come out on vaccines and delayed developmental disorder. Whenever you stack vaccines on top of each other and give multiple vaccines at one time. It just come out. It's a brand new study. I was reading that earlier today. I'm a bit of a nerd. I like reading medical journals and stuff.
Dear God.
Yeah, I know. Good time, huh?
Stop dropping the link. That'll stop all that one. Now I gotta put him in a group home.
No, I would never put my son in a group home.
I'm talking about the Proudfoods. They want to put him in a group home. They've done that.
No.
They've done that already.
Yeah. Not only that, but if he were put somewhere like that, considering that Seth has joint custody of Sebastian.
Yeah, you could have done it. That's the whole point. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
You got to get permission from both parents. But then maybe that don't make sense either, because He didn't know what the hell was going on with his kid at the schoolhouse and allegations of abuse. So obviously they didn't keep him in tune. She didn't put Seth on paperwork, which I don't understand that at the schoolhouse.
And you know what?
Something is very off with all of that.
All of it, because Seth should have been notified as a custodial parent of Sebastian whenever there was any kind of claim made.
At the school, when DHS was called. So I'm
Yes.
really saying I didn't know any of this by listening to the live stream. That's what pissed me off about the Proudfoots in the beginning, is when he went to Court TV to say he didn't know what was going on. He didn't know how they really felt about his son until he watched the YouTube live streams. That pissed me the fuck off. Because that's a terrible way to find out how somebody thinks about your child, and and your child is living with these motherfuckers. And then you get up on live streams with these old dirty ass YouTubers talking bad about a fucking kid. And the YouTubers, you ought to be ashamed of yourself to allow the Proudfoots to even come up on your channel talking bad about a fucking 15-year-old autistic ass kid. And if you did have autism, you still ought to feel some fucking way. And you all still keep wanting to let them come up on your channel because you just like them. I said that.
They are. I completely agree with you, Queen. I completely agree with you.
Bastards. Stinky, dirty bastards is what you are. Because ain't no fucking way I'm going to let nobody come up on my panel talking bad about their fucking kid.
At all. But then again, I knew something was wrong with the whole situation from the very beginning whenever Katie was not begging and pleading for Sebastian to return.
Well, Barry, you got to know how to stay calm. Last time you came up on the panel, you went 0 to a fucking 100. You should know how to talk. The panel is open to anybody. It helps keep the continuity of the live stream going if other people speak. But God forbid, maybe some of you just don't know how to speak. I don't know what the hell's going on.
I don't know how to shut up, Queen, so.
Yeah, you come in talking. You got to. She don't even say hello. How you doing? Good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon, Queen. Now, you was kind of solemn today, but damn, the other time it was. I said, well, she's backstage talking to herself. I guess I did that on somebody's panel. I ain't gonna say who it was, but they had me backstage for some reason. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. I was just talking to myself, and I was looking at my reflection, and then I realized, Heifer, you ain't even in the show yet. It's going on. Oh,
exactly.
Damn.
I'm sitting here. I was sitting there. I was doing the same thing, Queen. I was doing the same thing.
I was just going out. And I was backstage. I guess he was probably thinking, who the hell is she talking to? To herself. That's who she's talking to.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Some of my best conversations. I know you have some good conversations with yourself, too. Don't play.
I sure do. I talk to myself. I sure do. And I don't fucking answer. When I answer, then you be worried.
Yep. When I start answering myself those problems.
Listen, Queen and Beverly be going at it. especially about these damn true crime stories. Beverly was talking shit last week. Beverly said, if you don't turn that damn YouTube off, give it a break already. I just didn't have the strength to go live to talk. I just didn't want to talk about nothing. I just wanted time to myself to reflect, to zone out, and I'm really at peace when I'm not talking about this type of conversation because I just don't think it's a good omen. I said that months ago to the chat. I really don't think it's a good omen to talk about dead people and missing people every day. You know, whether it's you're Banfield or you're a podcaster, YouTuber, I think you can summon Satan talking about this every day. That's just my personal opinion.
You can definitely bring bad into your life.
Yeah. I don't advise.
Not cautious.
I just don't advise talking about dead people every day. It's not a good idea.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's not a good idea. That's the reason I have to take breaks and stuff over there on my channel. We'll do something goofy or we'll go watch movies or something like that. I don't cover true crime every day because it darkens you. It makes you heavier. You know what I mean?
SG, Do you see SG's comment says Sebastian is a package, Seth is a mod. Wow, on Beatty's channel? Damn, Seth, really? Wow. Woo! Come on, Seth, really? See, this is where I started thinking it just makes me think he just don't care because he should have done his homework about her.
Yeah. He didn't do his homework about a lot of YouTubers, though, that he's been messing around with.
Good night, honey. Good night, SG. Exactly, Danielle. Every day you're talking about, yes, manifestation is real. Exactly. And a lot of people don't realize that. You hang around drama all the time. You're stirring up drama. You're a part of it. You passing it. You should know you're going to be wrapped up some type of way. That shit comes back like a boomerang. And people do not understand that. You see yourself being surrounded with people that stay in chaos. You attract chaos. You're in the midst of chaos. You need to try to remove yourself. Because you're not doing nothing but marking yourself.
He's a mod on Brittany J's too.
Wow.
You know, that makes a lot of sense because the first interview that he did with Brittany J, I watched that interview, and Seth said that thing about Sebastian, that American Pie embarrassing crap about Sebastian on there. And it was on the second half of the live, and I was doing a 2-part on her interview with him. And I'll be darned if she didn't come in my chat, tell me she was coming up on panel, going to be up there in 5 minutes, and then leave me hanging and not even tell me she had edited that part out of the interview and knew what I was going to talk about and everything and didn't even give me a heads up. Ain't that some crazy stuff?
Regina?
Yeah.
She edited what out?
She edited out where Seth said that.
Said what?
He said that Sebastian woke up, thought he had peed himself, but his dad was like, Sebastian kept saying, I didn't pee myself, and his dad was like, yeah, no, son, I know, go take a shower. Some American Pie embarrassing stuff. Seth said that in the original interview, and I was going to cover it in my live because it was just more reason to tell Seth to get the freak off of YouTube. And then Brittany J edited out of the video and knew I was covering it. Like that's what the live was about. And come over there in my chat and stuff and was like, this was a good interview. I'll be up on panel here in a minute. And then she dipped out, didn't even bother telling me she had edited it out. And I looked stupid. Made me look stupid. Sitting there talking about it. Well, it's not in the interview anymore.
Oh, I see what you said. Okay. So you were discussing something that you saw on our channel.
Yeah.
So why do you think she edited it out?
I think Seth asked her to edit it out.
Yeah, I'm getting kind of tired of these YouTubers. That's why I don't like talking about true crime. I don't like talking about them, and I definitely don't want them talking about me because that's the way it goes. But I don't have no respect for a lot of the YouTubers. I just don't.
Yeah, here's the thing.
Because every day drama, and they somehow don't see that they're feeding into the beast, but they have every fucking excuse going live why what they're doing is right and correct, and they still don't see and get. You are part of the problem.
Yeah.
You are part of the fucking problem.
I agree. I completely agree. And here's the whole thing, though. If you're a reporter, if you're reporting on a case, this is the thing I have with
there, please.
If you are documenting a case, what he said, she said, everything you're documenting on a case. If you are live and someone does something live and then you go back and edit it out because you don't like what that person said during the live, then you're literally depriving your audience of the truth at the same time. And who do you owe it to be honest and to give information to? The people that are supporting you, right, Queen?
Yeah. Well, that's
So why
the
would you?
reason why Seth don't need to be talking to anybody, because this is going back to the same bullshit that happened with Nancy Grace. You want her to edit this, that, and the other. Nancy Grace is not putting a gun in your head. The news isn't putting a gun in your head, and the YouTubers aren't putting a gun in your head. When you decide to go talk to somebody publicly, you should know what you should and should not say. Everything is on you. That's a choice. So nobody should have to edit anything. Then don't talk. It's common sense. Nobody should have to be editing anything out.
Yeah, it's easier to keep your mouth shut. It takes a whole lot less work. You don't have to edit anything when it doesn't come out of your mouth. You don't have to delete it if you don't say it.
Yeah, that's the reason why they don't need to be on YouTube talking, because they don't have, there's no filter. They don't know how to stop talking. So you can't get mad at people because you said something, now you want somebody to edit it out. No, stop talking. Just stop talking. That'll clear everything up, any misunderstandings, anything you said that you wish you could take back. And that's what Seth has been doing. He's been teeter-tottering on what to say about the Proudfoots because he wants to stay in their good graces. Well, we're past that now. You've said a lot. They said a lot. You can't go back. You can't take it back. I think he just don't want to rock the boat with these people, but he's pissed off, angry with them. He needs to come to grips with the fact that perhaps his child is not alive. They have harmed his child, and the sooner he realizes that, he can move forward.
Move on. Yes. Yes, Queen. Preach
But
it.
going back and forth and want folks to edit stuff, the shit ain't working. So if you see that you got to keep retracting shit you're saying, then stop going on panels talking. Stop. And if that also means don't talk to the news, which I wanted him to talk to a reputable news company, but they don't got time to trying to edit shit. Either say what you mean or don't say nothing at all.
Right? And if you're a parent that's searching for your kid, you don't tell those kind of stories. You don't tell those kind of embarrassing stuff on your kid. And I get it. Maybe he was in a dark place, whatever. But that's the reason you need to have yourself silenced. Not be up there talking when you're upset and stuff. There's good advice my dad gave me one time. When you're upset and whenever you're in the moment, you might want to keep your mouth shut because your actions and your words can't be taken back. They can never be taken back. They're there. They're out in the universe forever. So you got to stop and think. And that usually requires calming yourself. And see, and the Proudfoots, they're even worse about it because they went on different YouTube channels and they went off on people and made fools of themselves and lied about everything. And we know they lied about everything. I don't believe a word come out of any of their mouths. Barely even believe their names when they say them.
Let me address Danielle. Danielle, what are you saying? Somebody made him a mod to prevent fraud. I don't understand what you're saying. What are you talking about?
Do you mean to keep fake people that aren't him from coming in the chat and pretending to be him?
Well, that's not a reason to make him a mod.
No.
There are ways that you can reach out to Seth and verify who he is. That's what video chat is for. Pull him up, see if it's him. If it ain't him, hang up, block him, and keep it moving.
That interview was edited, and I can prove that it's edited because if you go, and I don't watch those channels, but the clip got sent to me. Okay. And we talked about it in my Discord about covering it because Seth should not have said what he said about Sebastian, and I still stand by that. But the channels that go after that person played that and went after her for it, and she deleted it from the original interview. It's gone.
Well, that's her. I ain't trying to fool with none of these motherfuckers, quite frankly. Nothing personal, but I'm not in competition with none of them. Don't care what they're doing, talking about. Just from what I've seen, dealing with talking about these children, over the past 4 years or so, 5 years basically. I'm just not enthralled.
Yeah.
I'm not enthralled at all. And I just don't like the behavior I see up here pertaining to true crime.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, the people are very barbaric in the story, and the people covering it, they're barbaric, and the people chatting, they're barbaric. So I tell people to knock yourself out. I'm not here to worry myself about what somebody else is doing. I could care less. I just could care less. Because it's just out of control. And the people in the true story, they're not helping the situation, and they don't realize that. You're helping fuel the nonsense that you're complaining about. Don't speculate. You're not in our shoes. You heard all that bullshit from Christopher Proudfoot in the beginning, but you're helping the speculation by talking bad about the boy on a live panel.
Exactly.
How is it that you don't understand and see that?
Exactly.
If you don't see that, there's something terribly wrong with you. That's why I know something is sinister about the boy being gone.
Yeah.
Because you don't own your part in putting the dirty shit out about the boy.
Exactly. Yep. And you know what? How awful would it be if by some miracle, which I don't think he is, but if some miracle Sebastian ended up being found alive? What has he got to go home back to now, Queen? What has he got to go back to? Embarrassment?
He don't have anything to go back to.
Nothing.
He has nothing to go back to.
He ain't even got his own name to stand on. He ain't even got his own name to stand on, Queen.
Well, just imagine if he is alive and he is sitting somewhere listening to all of this unfold. He would feel shame.
Very shameful. I wouldn't want to go home if this happened to me. No way. If people were talking about me in the most embarrassing ways and disrespectful.
They're so disrespectful. And that's another thing, too, that nobody seems to understand. All these ugly things these motherfuckers have said about him on live streams. Just imagine if he was alive. You think he'd want to go back to school after all these ugly things have been said about him wearing a diaper, using the bathroom, sleeping on a mattress? Come on.
I bet he would never go back to regular
Nobody
school.
really focusing on the child and the image of the child and the reputation of the child. Everybody's talking about Seth, what Seth said, what the Proudfoot said. But you're not thinking about the child. If let's just say the child was alive, where would he go once he was found and all of this shit has unfolded and these nasty things have been said about him? He wouldn't want to go to a regular school after what has been said about him by his own parents. And that's what's so fucked up, is that they don't realize you have tarnished and tainted a 15-year-old autistic child for what? For what? These
good name.
These YouTubers and Seth and the Proudfoots, y'all all act like you all are fucking each other the way you all act. Yeah, I said that. Y'all act like you're screwing each other.
Yep.
It's disgusting.
Yep. Absolutely. But you know what? I don't think the Proudfoots care because they know he's not coming back. I think Seth does care. I do think he cares. But I also think that he was with Katie for a reason too. And I think that his character flaws are really starting to show. And I think that a long time ago he should have just, because they're similar.
Who you talking about?
No, I'm talking about Seth. He had to be attracted to her for a reason, just like Chris.
Well, if he was attracted to her as a child, then that was wrong, okay? So that's where you have the grooming and so on and so forth. So that's not a relationship. So let's just say he met her, dated her as a child. That's the only problem I really would have with Seth as my worst allegation against him if it's true. So let's say he messed with her as a child. then anything after that is null and void, because you can't count a relationship with a grown up versus a child. It doesn't matter. You kept talking to her. She's grown. You try to build a relationship with her. You can't build a relationship after you have violated a person as a minor. It makes no sense.
That's true.
There's no relationship if you groom the child and violated the child. So let's say that did happen. Anything after that, as her being an adult or whatever, is null and void. So it was built on fraud anyway. If he did that, I'm not here to say he did or didn't, but people have assumed he, messed with her as a child. So as I said, it wasn't. If it's true, it wasn't going to be nothing. It couldn't be right anyway. That's what I'm trying to say. It couldn't be right.
Exactly.
Because you can't get something good from something bad. Not in this type of situation. Now,
right.
I'm talking about somebody messing up their life, getting in trouble, they change their life around. That's different. But grooming a child, no. Hell no. Ain't nothing good getting ready to come from grooming no motherfucking kid.
I think there was always too much of an age difference there to start with. But
well, let me ask you something.
I think they both used each other.
Do you believe he messed with her as a child?
I don't have a discernment on that because I haven't seen any evidence of it.
Right, that's what I told people. He may have met her as a child, but you gotta prove he had any type of sex with her as a minor. He is never gonna admit that, and she ain't either, because they know how the fuck that's gonna sound. I say I don't keep up with all the conversations his mother done said on Facebook, and they tried to douse everything she done said and push it under the rug like she's disoriented. She don't know what she's saying. So it's like, okay, so now you're trying to say the mother don't know who the fuck she is. So what you trying to say? She got dementia. Stop it. This is why you don't need to be talking. You don't know. If you ain't gonna tell the truth about nothing, then keep your damn mouth closed.
Yep. But it could go both ways. See, it could be that Katie and Seth both had not the purest of intentions towards each other.
Stop. Don't do that.
I'm sorry.
Come on, Virginia. Really, you gonna go there?
Well, what?
She's a child.
But look at the situation she was in.
I ain't gotta look at.
I know.
She's a child.
I know a teenage girl.
You are an adult. It don't matter
Yes.
what the fuck she had going on. It don't matter if she was on drugs, getting high, getting in trouble in school. If she was prostituting, you are an adult. She's a child.
Right. That is true.
I'm not. I ain't about to let that fly now. No. Because in the end, you are grown. You should have discernment to know you don't need to be having sex with a child. Period. No matter what they're going through. Wrong is wrong. It don't matter what you was going through. You ain't got no business touching, looking, kissing, licking, nothing with no baby. Don't matter if she's gonna pass at you. So what? You can't excuse the behavior to say, oh, but a child made a pass at me. That's perfect, typical pedophilia talk. Oh, she looked at me a certain way. He looked at me.
Oh no, that's not what I'm implying.
Well, what you saying?
That's not what I'm implying. I'm not talking about whether or not she was a child or an adult. I'm saying how young she was and the situation she was in at home. Even if she hadn't been, let's say 18 years old, I think Seth for Katie was a means to get out from underneath her mama's roof.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Regina.
Yes.
It still don't matter. It don't matter what she was going through. He is the adult. He is the adult and the orchestrator of what is right and what is wrong. You can't expect a 14, 13-year-old to know what they should and should not be doing. That's an assumption. She should know right from wrong. But I don't know her. I don't know how she was raised. I don't know how she was taught. So if she had a troubled life, you should know better than trying to groom a fucking kid if that's what he did. I'm not here to say he did or didn't. All I'm saying is he knows better. I don't expect Katie as a child to know what she should and should not be fucking doing with a grown-ass man or a 16-year-old. Do you understand what I'm saying? You're a man. You should know not to be touching, fondling, kissing, buying gifts for a fucking child. No matter if she had a good life or not.
How old was Katie when Sebastian was born?
Listen, I just hope for his sake it's not true.
Right. Well, he
Because
said
what's going to be bad, listen, what's going to be bad is if he did have a relationship with her as a minor, which is pedophilia, you can't now talk bad about your child being sexually assaulted under Katie's care, because people will say, well, how is a pedophile going to talk about another pedophile?
Pot call the kettle black, right?
Yes, sir.
Pot call the kettle black. But we don't know that she wasn't, 18, 19. I don't know how old she was when Sebastian was born.
I think she was 19. I'm
Okay.
not sure. I just hope for his sake he didn't do nothing with her underage. That's all I'm saying.
Right.
It's not going to make sense for you to try to explain your relationship with her, explain your child being in her care, and she's letting all type of Tom, Dick, and Harry's be around a boy. That's going to be expected with young people, because if they haven't been taught anything, they haven't been taught how to raise children, love children, they're going to make mistakes. And one of those mistakes is having different type of people around their kids unsupervised. It happens all the time.
Yep. All the time.
You have to be taught not to let strangers be around your children. Even if you let somebody keep your kid, you think they're nice. You don't know what they're doing with your child when you're not around.
I don't know. I always took my kids everywhere with me. I didn't like nobody watching my kids. I didn't like nobody. I was always paranoid, I guess, that something would happen and I wouldn't be there, or that someone would do something to hurt one of them. I couldn't never entrust my kids with anybody. I knew if I was there, they were okay. You know what I mean? But if I wasn't there,
you can't trust nobody.
Nobody.
You don't know people. Whether it's your family, your mate, your wife, your husband. You see these stories all the time of people violating children. So it doesn't matter. Even you can leave your child with your mother, your sister. You don't think your sister will molest your own child. Your mother will molest your child. Your father will molest the child. Who thinks that? Nobody. Unless you know that behavior and you allow your child around them. Now, we have seen this with many cases with families. People do allow child molesters to be around their children because they've been molested by them. And it's wrong. You've been touched by somebody. You have no business allowing those people around your kids.
Look at the Audrey Cunningham case. They had one living on the property. And it wasn't even documented because he pled down. That little girl paid her life for it because the district attorney let someone that did something awful to another child off with a slap on the wrist because he promised not to do anything like that again.
Jacked up.
Yeah, it's real jacked up. It's all messed up. And there ain't no fixing it. You know, it's only going to get worse. If you know what that good book says, you know what I mean.
So you made a comment, and then I'm going to check out of here, about Seth and Katie being the same. What are you trying to say?
I don't mean in every way, but I mean that whenever they got together, there was something. I think they both needed each other in a sick dependency kind of way. You know what I'm saying? I think that their original relationship, I think Katie saw a way out of her household and her life with her mother and that situation. And I think Seth is, from everything I've seen, I'm going to say he's a very codependent person. And
He's a what? Slow down. He's a what?
A very codependent person.
Well, explain that. What is it you see about him that makes you think he's codependent?
The way he latches on to people, like he has every PI, every his spokesperson, like I see him depending on people a lot that aren't maybe the best choices in his life, and it's strictly out of the desire to not be alone.
Well, let's scratch the child was missing. Let's scratch all of these people. Who was Seth Rogers before the child went missing?
He was a single man that was a security guard, as far as we know, working at the prison. No, what do you mean?
You spinning the web. Figure it out what I'm saying. You just said the man's codependent. So who was he before the child went missing?
Sebastian's father. What do you mean?
See, you talking, you speaking, Regina, but you're not thinking about what you're saying. You said he's codependent. So when did he become codependent? When the child went missing or before?
After Sebastian went missing, I think he become codependent. I think after Sebastian went missing.
So you don't think he was codependent before?
Not to the yes, but not to the degree he is now. I think trauma has made his worse for him.
Yes, I like people to explain themselves, so that way it's not left open ended.
Yeah, no. I think.
So, what do you think? He was a secure person before the child went missing?
I think he was more secure than he is now. Yes, absolutely. I think he was lonely, but I think that he was secure in his life. Now that Sebastian's gone missing, I think that he is desperate and empty, and it's making him very dependent on other people. That's what I'm saying. And he has poor taste in people to surround himself with.
Okay. Well, I don't know how long Faith is going to be here. I'm totally against this child being in their care. And I just pray she's not heard or seen anything traumatic. See, we don't know what Nita told her, what conversations she's heard from her mother over the years in the past couple months with all this nonsense playing out on YouTube. See, nobody's thinking about any of that. And then you imagine what she's possibly heard. She had to touch down and come down here. She could be petrified as hell. Yep. Petrified. And I'm sure Nina is the same. Worried about her child. Out of sight, out of mind. I won't doubt that Katie probably don't answer the phone when she calls, want to speak to her daughter. Don't know if the child has a cell phone when she calls. If she had any sense, I would have sent her with a phone. You let me know if anything jumps off, sounds funny, walk out that door and run like hell. So I hope she sent the child down here with a cell phone.
I do think Faith might be okay because all eyes are on the Proudfoots, whether they like it or not, and it's going to be hard. It would be next to impossible for them right now to get rid of someone.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do. That has nothing to do with what they're saying around the child.
Exactly.
About what they can and can't say around the child.
And just something she overhears could endanger her.
But that's what I'm trying to say is that.
Right.
They don't have to hurt her, but you don't know what they're saying around her and to her, what they have asked her. So you don't know. And these two are diabolical, in my opinion. So it's no telling what they've said to her since she touched down, commentary they've made about the boy, what conversations she's overheard from them, and as I said, what she's heard from her mother. Little girl is probably not stupid. Children are very savvy. They're smart. Yep. They can put things together.
You're absolutely right.
And that's my fear, is that she's heard a lot of conversation from different people, and she could be scared here.
I couldn't have sent my child. I couldn't have done it, Queen. I couldn't have done it.
Yes, Brady, I agree. They should not have had her until this case is solved. Yeah. No judge in any jurisdiction should allow the child to come here.
at all.
So that's what I'd like to know. What happened in court? What did Nina say? What did she show the judge? Represent to the judge? Because there's no reason for that child to be down here with a whole child missing. I personally would have let her come here. That's just me as a judge. Until I got more information of what was going on.
I can't think of a single reason why Faith is at the Proudfoots right now. Like, I don't see how anyone in their right mind would put that little girl in the Proudfoots home right now. Like, I don't see how a rational human being could put Faith in their custody right now after a child has just gone missing, after CPS allegations were made by that child against that home. No,
Let me play this update.
Killing of 4 college students, Dana Cardodal, her boyfriend Ethan Chapin, Madison Hogan, and Kaylee Gonzalez. Families and friends still awaiting justice as a trial has yet to be set for Brian Koberger.
I hope people understand how all these kids that were a part of this were doing everything right. They were going to be the type of people that you wanted to be your neighbor.
On November 13th of 2022, a quadruple homicide rocked the quiet college town of Moscow, Idaho, and the nation. It made headlines everywhere.
Now the investigation into the deaths of 4 college students from the University of Idaho. There is news tonight, chilling new images.
It also took over social media with theories.
Alright, this is what I think happened to Idaho murders.
Unless you've been living under a rock, I'm sure you've heard of the University of Idaho murders.
As the victims' families and friends waited nearly 7 weeks for a suspect to be arrested.
The arrest of a 28-year-old man in Pennsylvania in connection with the brutal murders of 4 University of Idaho students.
Now, new reporting about the murders detailed in a new book by award-winning author Howard Bloom.
You come to the conclusion that based on your research, your interviews, you believe that Brian Koberger did it.
I believe that Brian Koberger did it, but there are 2 parts to that question. The first part is, can he be convicted in a court of law? And I think that's a much higher mountain to climb.
When the Night Comes Falling, based in part on Bloom's early conversations with the Moscow Police Department before the judge issued a gag order shrouding the investigation in secrecy.
Where I was able to reconstruct this night when everything seems to fall apart.
It all began November 12th, 2022.
I'm gonna stop it there. ABC News is the source. So this guy has written a book. I don't know where he's going with this. If he's trying to say, sorry about that. If he's trying to say what he did, it didn't do it. I think I've heard him speak before. This guy, this older gentleman. Why write a book when you don't have an ending?
Yeah, exactly. And why base it off of interviews?
Let me Google something right quick. Let's see. I think I've heard him talk before. I think he believes that he might get off, if I'm not mistaken. So I think I've heard his commentary before.
I don't think Brian Koberger will get off. I think they have Brian Koberger's pinging, his Bluetooth pinging every device next to that home.
Out, one called The Kill Jar tells the inside story of the University of Idaho murders, offering a memorable, thoughtful dive into our societal fascination. Then another one is While Idaho Slept, the hunt for answers to the murders of 4 college students. Some different people got books. Oh, here it is right here. This is what I wrote. Nightcap, okay. When the Night Comes Calling, a requiem for the Idaho student murders by Howard Bloom comes out June 25th and offers an in-depth account of the police manhunt that eventually led to the arrest of the suspected killer. So there's also a 3-part Paramount Plus docuseries about the killings. #Cyber Sleuths, the Idaho murders, premiered February 6th. Below, read an exclusive excerpt from Blum's book that details what may have happened that night. So let's see. I don't know if I want to read this to everybody. I think I'll do a live about it.
You want to know something crazy? I always knew after those 4 students ended up dead, like I just always kind of knew that the person that did it would be arrested like 6 weeks after because of DNA. As weird as that might sound, like I always had that feeling. So much so that 3 weeks before he got arrested,
Say what?
I said,
Wait. Say what you said again.
I always knew that it would take about 6 weeks for the person that committed the murders to be arrested for the murders, because that's how long it would take for the DNA to come back. Like I just always knew.
Where I have a problem is that it should have never got to Pennsylvania. He should have never been able to leave Washington, because what doesn't make any sense is that it was 2 weeks after the murders that a security officer spotted the car on campus or at one of the apartment complexes.
Right.
And they ran the tag. So I feel like this. If you ran the tag and you started watching that person's car, how is it that went on for about a month and he left the school, finished his courses, and then went to Pennsylvania? That's where I have a problem with that.
I think
they should have at some point been able to get some type of evidence. Just like they ended up getting evidence watching him in Pennsylvania. You want me to believe you couldn't have watched him in that short month to see what he was doing, going to a garbage? He had to empty trash at some point at those apartments. I don't care if he walked out with gloves, and eventually that wasn't going to look good either. You walking out with gloves on. He had to
I don't think that they.
He had to know that's going to look strange walking out to the trash with gloves on. It's not COVID.
Right. He was seen wearing gloves buying vegetables.
Okay, that's what I'm trying. Well, I don't know anything about that. I'm talking about at the house. They got wind of the car, make and model, 2 weeks after the kids died. So you all started watching him, obviously, at the school. I have a problem with that. It should have never got to the point where he left the state. And then they say, oh, well, we weren't watching him when he got in the car with his father and left. But then what's ironic is he's pulled over 2 times for trailing a truck, car, whatever. All that's bizarre. I'm sure he was nervous as hell getting pulled over, thinking he was made. And then you all touch down over in Pennsylvania and you're watching him. All that's backwards to me. Something's backwards about that. I refuse to believe you couldn't have gotten DNA when he was in Washington before he even left the school, before school was even out. I refuse to believe that's bullshit. That boy had to use the bathroom. He had to empty trash, whatever food he bought. He had to take that food and stuff out of the fucking apartment. So why would it take a whole month from after the kids died up until his father coming here, flying here, and they drive back to Pennsylvania, and then you put agents on the ground to watch him outside the house and throw trash in the neighbor's garbage can? That was a mistake.
I can answer that a little bit.
You over here walking trash over to your fucking neighbor's house in the wee hours.
I can answer that. I can actually answer part of that, though. Part of the reason it took so long is because the initial lab that they sent the knife sheath off to tested it, but they didn't have the DNA tests that were advanced enough to get a profile from the DNA. So then they had to ship it to another lab. And whenever you ship between labs and you have to transfer evidence, you have to do a chain of command. It's a whole bunch of paperwork, everything. So I'm thinking it took about 2 weeks worth of testing at the initial lab, and they finally got a sample, but they couldn't analyze it. And then they had to ship it to the other lab, and that took another 2 weeks. And then when they got the results back, they had to send it to the FBI, which probably took another 2 weeks to get samples back,
This is
which is
bizarre.
about how long it was it took them to arrest Brian Koberger, was
Yeah.
about 6 weeks after the
It
homicide.
just seems strange that you made a mark on the car, and I just refuse to believe he ain't touched nothing at the school, books, desk, nothing that you could swab something to compare it to whatever you found at the house.
Right.
I mean, I understand it takes a while, chain of command with DNA and running tests and all that. I'm just saying it's how it looks. It just looks bad that this boy left an entire state and went over to Pennsylvania, and then you all had people on the ground watching him and critiquing what he was doing in the wee hours with fucking trash bags.
Yes. Yes, exactly. But that does mean that they were watching him, which tells me, and not only that, but it's no coincidence that he was pulled over twice. It's no coincidence. I know everyone wants to think that, but I think that they were, in fact, watching his car since the day his vehicle got called in by the security guard. I think that is exactly whenever Brian Koberger became an actual suspect, before the DNA ever even came back. And that's why they were watching him in Pennsylvania, because having after he had changed the plates to go back to Pennsylvania, the plates weren't on the car anymore. So
just imagine chasing in behind somebody that's a fucking foreigner.
oh my goodness.
That's my point. What if he was a foreigner? Somebody who came from Honduras or Mexico, you jumped ship. Then what?
It happens every day.
Somebody
happened. Look at Rachel Morgan.
Somebody that thought that they were on his trail, and then they just disappeared into the night. Because I refuse to believe they followed him all the way from Washington State to Pennsylvania. You know how long that drive is?
No, I don't think they followed him all the way back. I think they knew he were headed back. I think they were following him digitally.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, sweetheart, you still can have gotten gone if you thought somebody was following you. If you thought somebody was on your trail. That was enough to spook a person to go on the lam, is what I'm saying. To be pulled over 2 times, and you just murdered 4 people.
Oh, we know he was spooked. He was caught separating the trash out with gloves on in his kitchen. They spooked him. I mean, how paranoid do you have to be?
That's the point I'm trying to make. Imagine if it was somebody who had nothing to invest in and they went on the lam, is what I'm saying.
Right.
Somebody he could have been that type to went on the lam. Everybody's different. No matter if he had friends, family, support, he's still gonna have the mindset to say, I think they're on to me, I'm gonna go underground. People do it all the time, whether they have a nice home, school, car, they do it all the time. That's all I'm saying.
That would be god awful, Queen, because then I think we would have probably a very prolific serial killer on our hands if we don't already. To be honest, I think that's what he was doing out at Wawa however you say that park's name, Wawa Park, or whatever.
Well, that's why his car got locked in
out there.
He was walking. He was somewhere watching somebody. I've always thought that when they said his car got locked in that park. He's from that area. He knows what time to get his car out the fucking park. Why would you leave your car there for it to get locked up? Because you were doing something you didn't have no business.
Yep.
I've always thought that.
I think he was out there looking for victims.
Well, see, I think he possibly could have been somewhere else and parked the car at the park. See, you don't know if it's residential over there where the park is. Who's to say around the corner?
Yeah, I do. I looked. I've actually checked it out on the map and stuff. It's actually pretty isolated.
The park is?
Yeah.
So there are no homes around the park?
They're a good distance.
Like what?
Oh, let me look again. I didn't see any. Wow. Hold on, I'll pull it up on maps again, but I
Because he
didn't
could have
see
Ubered.
any.
He could have Ubered there.
It's in the middle of a big park. I mean,
Listen,
it's literally in the middle of a big park.
Listen, he could have Ubered there, so you don't know.
Just
He could have parked his car there and then caught an Uber and went somewhere else to go look and walk and look at other stuff. So you don't know. Asked not to have his car seen in the neighborhood stopping somebody.
Yeah, no, it's in the middle of a big park, mountainous thing. There's no houses nearby, like no subdivisions or anything like that, where he says he was, for miles and miles.
Well,
yeah, I mean it's like right between two mountains.
So he's just hanging out on a trail, looking at people behind trees.
Probably looking for victims, like I said. That's what I think he was doing.
Okay, well, you want me to believe that nobody walked by that he couldn't have attacked? I'm just saying.
Maybe, maybe not. Maybe he lost his nerve. Maybe that's why he drove around allegedly their house so many times that night. Maybe he had to build himself up the nerve to do it.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about back in Pennsylvania, before he ever moved, when his car got locked in the park.
Oh no, I think he's got victims in Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Say what?
I think he's got more victims than what we think. I don't think that the Idaho.
Yeah, I'm talking about an incident that happened in Pennsylvania where his car got locked in the park and they gated it up. And I said, I wonder if that park, if there were houses or something nearby, and he went out scouring, looking around, watching women and stuff through windows. And then when he got back to the park, he couldn't get his car.
Oh, wow. In Pennsylvania?
So what are you talking about? I'm saying, me and you're not even on the same subject.
Right. We're both talking about two different parks, Queen.
Yeah, because I didn't know what the hell you were talking about.
But now I know what you're talking about. And yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, back in Pennsylvania, his car got locked in a park. This is when they're going back to show what he's ever been in trouble for. And they marked his car, security or whoever, with the car being left in this park, gated up. I always wondered if it was near a residential area, because most parks are. Because if you're from that area, you would be familiar with when to get your car out.
Right. Exactly.
That's where I was going.
Makes sense. Makes perfect sense to, if there's especially like a complex or, a park is a perfect place to park your car and leave for hours without anybody suspecting anything. You're right.
Okay. Well, I'm going to check out of here. Thank you for coming up. Because I know I've been up here a while. Woo, 3 hours, yes. Okay. All right. You have a wonderful weekend.
You too, hon. God bless.
Okay,
Have a great Sunday.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, everybody. I'm going to check out of here because it's 3 hours in. Thank you for tuning into this network. Mr. Bloom has written a book pertaining to the hunt for Brian Korberger. I will do a live pertaining to his rendition, and we'll chop that up this weekend. But I thank you all for tuning in to this late morning live stream pertaining to Sebastian Rogers. The topic of this live stream was pertaining to faith. Is she the reason that Sebastian Rogers is now gone, missing? And also, Tony Mathis spoke to Banfield with Seth about what law enforcement has now versus what they knew 4 months ago. So I posed that question to the chat. What do they have? Where is the investigation? Where does it stand? Is it criminal? Do they have more answers now than they did 4 months ago? As far as the timeline, the 25th, 26th, who knows what's the truth? The only person who knows the truth are the people involved in the storyline, which would be Katie and her husband and whomever else. Because in the end, it's their version. You're entitled to believe it or don't believe it. Frankly, I'm at a point I don't really care what they have to say because I don't like their behavior pertaining to the child. And that's all I have to judge them on is their behavior. pertaining to Sebastian Rogers. I don't feel like they care for him, and they did not have his best interest at heart while raising him. And that's my opinion. So whether they hurt the child, unalived the child, discarded the child, handed him off, whatever, I judge them according to what I'm seeing at the current moment, and that's all I have to go on. And if you're showing me that you do not care for a missing person that is your own damn child, why would I believe you cared for the child when the child was visible? That's my opinion. Please check the YouTube queue for my many, many shorts I've done pertaining to breaking news, new Louisiana law, 10 Commandments will now be in all schools and universities. Any abuser with a restraining order against him or her, the Supreme Court says you cannot own a gun. Please check out that live stream from yesterday. I also have shorts in the YouTube queue pertaining to that and the 10 Commandments. Do you feel like other states will implement the 10 Commandments in schools? Is it legal, not legal? Weigh in. Take the polls, comment on the videos and the shorts. I appreciate it. I will be back with a possible update on Kohlberger. It'll either be a short or a live stream. And that's all I have for right now. Amen. If you'd like to donate to this great network, $BigAngie, 129 Cash App. Stickers and chats are always welcome during the live stream. Thank you for your time and tuning in once again to this late morning live stream. Prayers for Sebastian Rogers, Summer Wells, and any other missing child or adult in America. Prayers for answers and a resolution. That's what I pray for. A swift resolution. They don't have, okay, Brady, good Lord. Ooh, Lord, you all are really crunk this morning. I don't know what y'all was sipping on this morning, but some of y'all were a little bit crunk in this live today. But anywho, thanks for tuning in. And all you can do is pray. Some of you may pray, some of you don't. But I believe in prayer, and I believe prayer works, and I believe God will move this case as he sees fit. Because as they say, it's not on our time, it's on his time. So I pray that God will say, I want to end. I'm going to bring an ending, and he will bring it soon. And that's all we can hope for, is that there will be a resolution to this case, some information, and an update from law enforcement, and the truth, if they know the truth. And that's the whole point. If it's indeed foul play, you have to pray that law enforcement has diligently worked the case to bring you the information. Thank you for your time. You've been listening to the Vault XL.